Thank you, Drew. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Charlton Water and Sewer Commission meeting of September 11th, 2017. It's now 6:39, and we will start with public forum. Is there anyone here for public forum? Hearing nobody, seeing nobody, then we'll move to warrants, approval for warrants.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following bills, payments of them. Town of Charlton, for electricity for July, $6,213.78. Rico for copier rental, up until 10/5/2017, so we're kind of paying in advance, $141.30. Veolia, inspect the EQ tank and replace 2A and 3A pumps, $1,360. Water and Sewer Commission for salaries, $500. Franklin Electric for grinder pump parts, $11,318.20. Osterman Propane for the sewer plant itself, $1,109.87. Copeland and Page Law, mostly for Treehouse transactions, the brewery, $19. E.J. Prescott for meters, connections, and gaskets, $1,864.30. Norma Dietrich for mileage, $23.97. RPM Heating and Air Conditioning, $150. And Paxson Corporation for more high-core parts, $26,262.28. That completes the payment. There are no abatements this month, this meeting.
I make a motion to second that.
I'll second it.
Okay. Gabe, you can take over.
Finish this one, might as well.
Okay, all right. So we got a motion on the floor in a second. Do we have discussion? I guess the question I'd have is, Norma, do you know that 26,000 for the high core, that's things that we've already approved? Or was it for additional parts?
I think it was already approved.
I think it was additional, because they come through in the email, like, geez, we're ever gonna end expenses on the high core unit? Here's the breakdown if you want it.
Should have been the original.
Well, I know I thought we approved a certain amount, but I thought you said additional.
I don't think I did, but I could have.
Okay.
If I
May have.
did, probably an error, but I think we approved it one time, and now we're finally making the payment on it.
Okay.
The
That's
units
my
have been
question.
received.
I think that's the original amount.
Budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we approved it back to get it in.
I want to say it was like 28 or 29.
Yeah.
Some,
Okay. All right, any other comments or questions on the warrants as read? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of July 31st, 2017. Everyone was present except Gabriel Berthium that week.
Need a second?
Yes, please.
I'll second that.
Okay, we can take over.
We got a motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of, I believe it was our last meeting, August 21st, 2017.
That wasn't present.
Everybody present?
Oh, I'm sorry. Alex was not present at that time. The rest of us were.
Second?
We got a motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Carol, is that the last meeting we had?
Yes.
I don't believe I was present because I had just had surgery.
I'm sorry. You're correct. Gabe, Paul Gagnon, Rob Lemansky, Steve Wanlin, and Norma Dietrich. So there was no Jen, and there was no Alex.
Okay.
Is there another set?
Excuse me one second. Does Jen sign this one?
I don't think Jen's on that one.
I think that's the one you
No,
missed.
She's on this one.
Okay.
How much do I sign?
I think that was the one you, I didn't hand you the one you missed.
No, but, is that all the warrants?
No, these is just, administrator's
Oh, you
report.
said, okay.
I don't know, I'd rather
Who's
not
that?
read it, but if I have to, I have
Is that
to.
the one
Like
you
to
just
read.
No,
Just wanted to sign, yeah.
I thought you had all the warrants.
Probably.
No, that was,
You brought,
let's see,
Depends.
these are all,
who's asking?
what else is in here? They're all here.
I'm gonna throw that
Yeah,
one
those.
in there. Thanks.
Oh, sorry.
Mine's blank. Sorry about that.
Those are yours.
And we'll save them, put it in when you're done.
All right, we're signing off on those. Steve's not gonna be here tonight. Is anybody gonna,
I'm jetting early, I gotta go to work.
okay. Do you wanna just hold off on his marriage?
Yeah, he do it, because there's usually an explanation that goes with everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm kinda
And he
thinking,
knows the answer to that.
unless you,
The only thing that he was hoping to cover was number 4. the EQ.
Mr. Chairman, if you wouldn't mind, why don't we ask Norma just to come up and read it? We know that Norma has limited information as far as this, but most of this is just a report,
yep.
okay? So, come on up, Norma.
Can I come up to,
Thank you.
right, me? Thinking,
Those all signed.
Okay, this is Mr. Wanlon's administrative report. Number 1, AG and rule of necessity ruling, situation and ruling. Letter A, over the past few weeks, 2 items were reviewed by the AG's office, conflict of interest. Opinions have been received back. B, 1, sewer rates and conflicts of commissioners on sewer rates to be able to vote on rates. The rule of necessity was originally thought to be needed. Further conversation as to the sewer customers being 10% or less was had. There are several customers like Masonic Home, Charlton Housing Authority, condo and apartment complexes that have larger than 1 person per population. When calculated and provided to the AG's office, they reversed their opinion, and the impact of less than 10% of the population guidance rule was reviewed. When adding the number of people in those complexes, the population percentage is much higher than 10% of the town's population. By definition, there is not a conflict amongst the commissioners, and all may vote without conflict. Letter C, when an elected member of board or commission recuses themselves from voting upon an issue, they may not discuss the issue with other members and not vote on the issue they are recusing themselves from.
so, can I, go ahead, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know at past boards that I've been on, and I believe in one of the, classes that they do for trainings, they've actually had that person recluse themselves like outside. And I don't know if that's a practice, I mean,
Would be no different than somebody sitting in the audience.
okay, no, I just think that it could be influential to some people,
So
so.
I think if it was an executive, and this is just my personal thoughts, executive session, I agree with you 100%. Like, if you have to recuse yourself, you know what I mean, then you really shouldn't be entertaining anything there. If you're just here, you know, it's no difference than someone public and just can't talk about it.
Jim,
Go ahead.
I represented the town of Charlton at a meeting in Boston.
Yep.
Where they went through ethics, open meeting law, fraud, etc. And the discussion came up about the member recusing themselves, and the enforcement officer at the Inspector General's office strongly recommends that that person leave the room because they're a member of the board, and if they sit at the table, the 4 members may feel a little, they're looking at somebody they know very well. And if he just sits in the audience, the same problem. So this gentleman recommended strongly that if the person leaves the room completely, then there's nobody can ever say he influenced the vote. He was sitting there, and everybody went with him because they knew him, et cetera. As his point was, it removes a layer of somebody questioning what he sat there. Of course the board would vote for him. And if he's out of the room completely, then nobody can ever say he had anything to do with it. And he's obviously gonna be able to watch it, the replay on television anyway, so he can see what happened. But at least he wasn't physically present when they actually took the vote. And it may take pressure off some of the members of the board. But that's just what this fellow said.
Yeah.
And-
No, I appreciate
He
that.
strongly recommended it.
I mean, I don't agree with his reasoning, but I follow it, you know what I mean, and I totally 100% get
His
it.
point was, somebody could say, hey, wait a minute, the guy sat right there, of course they voted for him.
Yep.
He said, and it becomes a big argument.
Yep.
Where if he's not even in the room, then there's nothing that, he wasn't even there.
Okay,
That's all he said.
yeah,
And I was at the meeting, and I sent the brochure around to all the different town departments, so that they could see that, and it's in there. But that was just his strong opinion, because if it comes back to me, that somebody actually was there, I might rule differently.
appreciate it, thank you very much.
Okay, number 2 is the initial SOP for the brewery and treatment plant has been sent to the commission for comments and review. Number 3, high core parts are being received almost weekly now, still waiting on more. The EQ 2 and 3 pumps. Estimates for a rebuild were sent to the commission, and Steve was hoping to get a vote on that one tonight. Number 5, we have completed the camera inspection of some 17,000 feet of gravity sewer line. We have just completed the jetting of some 17,000 feet of sewer line. Reports of both jetting and camera work are forthcoming. The ceiling fan has been repaired and is functioning. And then the items sent between the meetings have been the warrants, minutes, agenda, McClure's agreement, beta update, and the matrix.
Thank you, Norma. Do we happen to have those cost estimates for the DEQ pumps? Nice job, hit.
The estimate?
Right there, this fits you.
Estimates?
Because we might as well vote on that. I didn't think it was too unrealistic.
I would say it is,
There was a couple $1,000s a piece or something like that. There's a 60-40 rule. Let's see if I got it in there.
So new pumps are 10,500. Wait, if we go back,
60/40 rule.
60/40.
New versus repair.
2 pumps evaluated, one is $2,281 plus shipping, and there's also the replacement installation. Second pump is $4,160.70 plus shipping. This pump would then become a reserve pump shelf item. Suggestion is to have both pumps rebuilt for some $65,000. The unit for $2,281 would replace the 4th unit that needs to be done.
I mean 6,500,
Yeah.
What I said?
That too.
65,000.
Oh.
I was like, wait.
That's why I don't do numbers. And then have the 4th pump evaluated for repair and check on the 60/40 rule. And this would provide 2 spares for 4 pumps.
Okay, any thoughts, or someone want to make a motion?
I make a motion to accept Steve's recommendation for EQ tanks 2 and 3.
Motion, second?
Let's second it.
Okay. Anybody got any thoughts on this?
So what we're gonna end up spending is $6,500, have both pumps rebuilt.
Well, you have to get I don't know, whatever the evaluation of the 3rd pump is. It's gonna be an evaluation and recommendation of the 3rd pump, correct?
Just see this real quick.
Yeah, the EQ 2 and 3, go ahead, take it.
Can you do this, Alex?
Pass that down.
You want me to pass it to
Alex, I don't know if you
Alex,
have.
have you got this? It's in the packet.
Sometimes it's easy to read it real quick and.
It's in the packet.
So it'd be $6,500
10,000 each.
instead of, yeah, instead of
So 2,200 is well
10,500
below the
each.
60/40 ratio, that should be repaired. And the other one is still below the 4,100 out of 10,000 is still below the 60% mark, so that too should be repaired, so.
Yeah, because we have two newer pumps already, that's right. Because I think last year, the year before, we bought two brand-new pumps.
So there's 5 EQs?
There's four. And then I believe,
If we bought 5 new pumps, that would've replaced all of them.
no, we only bought two, I believe.
Okay.
So I think these are the other two, and then we're gonna take one of the better ones and have it for, send it out to be rebuilt to put it on the shelf. Right?
I believe that's what he's saying.
Is that kind of what?
Yeah.
Because I think what's happened is the magnetite was, or the sludge or whatever was destroying the volutes and the pellets in them. And then they're gonna fix the check valves and everything. So we believe once we get that,
Does this include volutes and impellers?
I believe so. When we talked to
So
Keith,
those, for the two new pumps that are being rebuilt.
it was a whole new pump.
Yeah.
You know, just drop it right in, you know, same frame rail, same everything. I believe it was, yeah, I believe it was for everything.
For the 10? The 10.5?
The 65.
The 65
Well,
would be a rebuild.
the 65 is to rebuild them. Does that
Correct.
include realignment and any machining or whatever may be needed? And balancing on the impellers?
What did Keith say? He explained it all last meeting. Let me call my memory here.
Well, it's considerably less than the cost of a new one to rebuild it, so even if it doesn't include the impellers or some of the other work that needs to be done, we're still.
I thought it was
coming
pretty
out.
much good to go,
Yeah,
as I recall.
I don't know what the,
I mean, I agree, if it's just a motor on top or something, then, you know.
I mean, even if it's motor and seals, it's kind of pointless if they haven't done the volute.
I was under the impression that it was everything. You want me to ask?
Let me just read through these real quick. So that floats.
In this quote here, Alex, they talk about the impellers on, I think it's on page 2 on the back section there.
Okay.
Yeah, and they talk about the wear plate, but they don't say,
Right, and then when you go to page, I think it's 4 on the back page, again, it talks again about upgrade the N impeller, which would be numbered ... is
no, I understand that, but there's nothing stated in here about the wear plates for the volutes.
Should customer choose the N
And this one
upgrade,
does.
it would need to revise the quote to reflect the new pricing. Please note, this quote is not with the N upgrade. Because this quote was for $1,700. Why don't we make a,
I think we need a little clarification.
why don't we,
One of them seems to have a replacement for the wear ring and the volute, one doesn't, and maybe that's their determination, I just,
yeah, and Alex, I think you're exactly right. Why don't we put a little addendum on the motion here, is subject to it including the
it's only 182 bucks.
Yeah, well, just so it's crystal clear.
Yeah, I just,
Then that was there is that when Steve gets back, he has the vote. If there was, if it didn't, the pricing didn't include those, then he's got to come back. And also the impellers as well.
Oh, that's fine,
This, yeah, let's have that back.
thank you.
So you want to,
So you want to accept that within the motion, Paul?
Yeah, I didn't second it, did I?
No, I second it, yeah, I'll accept that.
Yeah, you'll accept that? Okay. Norm, you got it, right? Yeah, yeah, it's just,
So including,
subject that the pricing includes the end plate and the impellers.
okay.
You gonna vote?
Is Steve plan on being back tomorrow? Okay.
I can have them send out an email to everybody just to confirm.
Okay.
that they're included.
So we get a motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimous. Hey, just tell Steve to call me if he's got any questions or whatever. Well, tell him to call me anyways, because I'll get clarification. I'll give you a shout, Alex, and we'll,
Okay.
just be clear on it, you know? So. All right. Let's go to appointments. McClure's not gonna make it. Is
Mr.
up.
Chair,
Oh, go ahead.
can we go back to number 2? When do we need to have the comments, done for the SOP, brewery treatment plant? Should we set a date that we should have our comments together, rather, because otherwise I have a feeling it might be like the job description, it could carry on for a while.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Was before the next meeting?
yeah, I'll talk to Steve and have his comments for next meeting, and then if we can all have ours, then we can compare them and finalize it and ship it off.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anything else? Does that look pretty good? Steve's report? Okay. Is, the Osgood Road here?
Yep.
Perfect. Come on down.
You guys have a copy of any of the bills?
Yeah, it's all in here.
I think it's in there. Can we sit here?
Oh, yeah. Best seat in the house.
Yeah, right.
So, hold on one second. Is it these ones?
This,
What, no, that's-
Should be $1,400.
And I apologize.
Steve sent the email out on Thursday maybe, and then
I saw an email real quick about it.
here, you can take mine, because I had printed mine. But you'll find it.
I got it. There it is. Sorry. Just give me 2 seconds to get up to snuff here.
Have to introduce himself and then next.
Yeah, yeah, introduce yourself, give us your explanation and, you know,
Okay.
your thing.
Side of the story.
Yep,
Todd Hybeck, 127 Osgood Road. Have had issues with water meter for a while. Have contacted Peter, you guys know who
yeah,
Peter is, right?
Starkis, yep.
Multiple times. Finally, that got replaced, from my memory, beginning of the year.
Okay,
I talked with Steve in regards to a bill on due date here of 12/29, billing date 11/29 of 16 for 363 and looks like 36 cents or 31 cents. He said pay that bill to get up to date since I haven't been billed for like a year or so, for a long time. So I paid that bill. My big concern was that, I want to make sure that this gets corrected, so that way,
gets
for,
corrected.
$400 is, you know, I expect $150, maybe $200 for a water bill a month. 400, you know, $360 is, you know, more than what I, you know, budget, what I expect. That's still my concern though too right now. One, that I'm being back billed past even this bill that I was told will pay this and let's move on from here. But I still, I don't know, as a customer, have big doubts whether this is even fixed. Whether the water meter reading is correct or not. Now, I talked to Steve, he did say yes, it looks like it's reading, but I've been told that in the past, so I guess we'll see, I don't know, when my next bill comes, if it's accurate or not.
So when was the meter replaced? Does it say here?
You said the
looks
first of
like
the year.
Yeah, first of the year,
It seemed as if I may, Todd,
yeah,
if we go back, your prior bills were all read at $37,500.
correct,
And
yeah,
then it seemed like the billing cycle, that was the bill date of 11/29/16.
correct,
Is
yeah.
when they got that reading of 41,667.
So
From
that's
my
the
understanding, that
total
was an
right here.
estimate,
So,
So this was an estimate, not a reading, that's down here?
correct, from my understanding on this,
Okay,
and it
so
says it here
right
too.
here,
Yeah.
so this is the usage, that's
Yeah.
what the meter's reading. So it looks like 5/12/2015 is the last read they got, and then it went 00000, and then they got a read up on, or they estimated up in 2016. And then,
And then when they did the next bill, which was, the bill date was 3/1/20, they had a usage, a default of 100 cubic feet.
That was also assessed with the hundreds, all the $30.
That's still another estimate?
So, and I guess that's my other concern or
When-
frustration is that the bill isn't even accurate to say whether it's actual or an estimate.
It should say it somewhere in the bill, if in fact it's an estimate, but it doesn't?
If it says it's actual, but it's an actual, it's, it's not an actual meeting,
yeah, because it's.
reader meaning, it's an estimate, so
Says
the
actual.
billing isn't
It says
even
actual.
accurate every time. So that's where I, start to have doubts of like, what's going on, right? You start questioning
Of course you
when,
do, of course you do. I'm gonna blame you.
Right.
I don't blame you.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a couple
Yeah,
questions?
oh, yeah.
When was the last time the meter was changed? It was a relatively new meter, right?
It was changed, from my understanding, the beginning of the year,
Of 2017?
2017. Now, I talked to Steve, and from my understanding, he's saying it's working now. 17.133, he said, is when, for the old meter and the new meter, like, for the last 2 years, year and a half of not getting bills, is what he's saying is what that actually is.
So it sounds like he went back, they put the meter in because it started at 0. And then they billed him for the 17,000 over the 3 quarters. But they put in 100, it must have been as a placeholder to get the bill through. Is that right?
That's
Is-
what they had been doing for the last.
I'm just trying to kind of build a map in my head.
Oh, but, so you don't have any filter system, and you're obviously on well, correct?
I am on a well. I do have a filter system.
You do?
I do.
Maybe you want to think about changing the microns.
Is it before the meter or after?
It's after.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't fit a filter before it. It's just too tight right next to it.
Is this a
So
single-
if this is a new meter that was put in the beginning of this year, and
Correct.
Is this single-family residence?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
it looks like it failed within the first couple months due to being plugged, and it's just going to continue to happen.
Well, from my understanding, it is from, this is the first meter when the house was built, 2005, 2003, I think. I think it's only had one meter, from my understanding.
No, you're missing what I'm saying.
Okay.
If the meter was installed in January of this year,
Correct.
2017,
Yes,
and we're in September, 9 months later,
yes.
this is going to be a consistent constant battle. The nictating plate that makes the meter spin and read, if it's jammed, it'll let water pass, but it's not gonna give an accurate reading.
So, my only question to that, Alex, is where did the 17,000 come from?
I have no idea.
So, I'm wondering if they didn't read it those first 2 times for whatever reason, and then they finally got around to reading it.
Well, Peter, or Steve had told me that is from when he said the computer was working. This doesn't make sense to me 100%. The computer was working, and then he said the computer actually told him that's how much water I've used over the past year and a half, even though back in December he said, all right, pay this $360 and then we'll get it squared away and you'll get accurate monthly bills. And still didn't get accurate monthly bills.
Yeah.
With the amount of debris that's in here, I can't see how it would be functioning and giving accurate readings. Looking at the photos.
But is that the old meter?
That was the old meter.
That's not the new one, that's the old one. The new one's gonna do that, again, I agree with you.
Why, did they just install another new one? I thought.
So this is the original meter, and then we installed the new one this winter.
That's from my understanding, yes.
January 12th.
So the new
Yeah.
one that we installed this winter has not been taken out yet. This
So
is
these are the pictures from,
the original one.
From like January, probably.
well,
Exactly.
Of this year or from like 2011, I think, when it started? I
No.
think this is the meter from,
January 12th, 2017.
From my understanding, that meter that you're looking at with the debris in it would be from when the house is built to January of this year.
So that's prior to here.
that's what I'm saying, yeah, so that's.
so this is, okay.
Yeah.
Right, meter one.
Well, my point being is, you're never gonna get accurate meter readings out of this if the nictating plate's not working properly.
Well, if it is working today, sooner or later, because of what's going through it, it will fail again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's gonna start to deteriorate and slope down that way. You need to get,
The water,
need to come in some kind of middle ground on this.
Alex, is your, I guess, if it was your house, you would have the water, if I may go this route, you'd have the water come in, treat it, then go through the.
Yes.
The meter. You've got the meter before the treatment center?
It's just it's like a whole house filter I bought.
Right,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
and it's got.
A backwash?
Does it got
No,
like
just
big holes or fine holes? Look like a roll of
Like a
paper.
cartridge filter, right? You
Yeah.
screw- Yeah, it's
Does it look like a paper towel,
yeah.
Yeah,
or does it have holes you can see when you slide the cartridge in?
it's a clear, it's a clear
Just-
can.
just
It's a sediment filter.
Right, well, there's different size microns, Gabe.
I understand that.
So,
I don't know which microns it
okay.
is.
My point being is if you get the meter on the other side of that filter, then you can get accurate reads. This is just gonna be a continual problem.
Can we put the meter on the sewage? Why can't we do that?
You can't meter sewage.
But that's what we're supposed, that's,
I'm just,
Right.
that's why you meter the water.
So we're metering the water that's going into the sewer.
There's no accurate.
going in the house, right?
Correct. There's no accurate way to meter sewer.
Normally, so
So when I purchased the house, it had the meter, but it didn't have the filter. So now
But
you're
also-
saying,
If I may, it also had that same water that you're currently running through your pipes that has those minerals that are collecting on that plate, which, as Mr. McKenzie said, is going to affect the function of the meter, and sooner or later, it won't.
it'll stop
It'll
again
fail.
and they'll have to be replaced again.
correct. So, what?
But that would be another, what is it,
Will it?
12, 13 years, maybe?
I mean, we had a dry year last year, the water table was low, that could've, you don't know what's
I
gonna
guess you don't.
impact it. You can't just throw those kind of, numbers at it. We had a real wet year this year, you may get longer, but you may not.
Like if the well pulls from down below, it's gonna pull sediment in faster. You know what I mean? If there's more water in your
Right, you
well.
can get more dirt water versus
Correct.
clean water.
Do you know how
I mean, so
deep
do
the
you want to
water-
have Peter come in and change it so it's on the other side of the filter? I mean, he just replaced it, what, 9 months ago, 8 months ago? I would have thought he should have said, oh, let's put it on this side versus this side.
You're like one of the first ones that we've really had
A problem, issue?
No, it's like the third one I've seen,
the third one? Okay.
third or fourth one I've seen like this, that Steve.
It's not a
said.
lot. That's, basically what I'm getting at is, I mean, and if you do that.
I understand that, like, that's for the future,
Yeah,
but doesn't, what about now though, too?
correct.
Right? And so there's, and I think my concern isn't so much, from what Steve is telling me, he's saying that, yes, the meter's actually working, it's not stuck with sediment, from my understanding.
And it probably is right now.
So, from my understanding, it's working. Now, I hope then the reading then comes through with the bill correctly. That's where I kind of question if it's gonna come through right.
Norma, if I may just ask, the bill that was issued, bill date of 8/10/2017, it does say both of the meter readings were actual, and it shows that it goes default total usage, 17,133 cubic feet.
Went out and inspected it too.
All right, but when we look at his past history of bills, is nowhere,
Zeros are really,
nowhere do you see, I mean, the highest quarter was 3,000 cubic feet. So how do you go from a quarter up to 17,000 cubic feet? Unless you filled up your swimming pool a couple of times.
Can I answer that? From
I guess,
what Steve told me is that it's just, it's almost going back all the way.
well, I just did a little math, and basically from July 7th, 2015, all the way up to April 5th, 2017, that's eight quarters. Well, I went down to the bottom and I took 8 quarters and got an average. Well, when I total up those 8 quarters, it totaled to 15,600 cubic feet. So it's close. Okay, I don't know where, exactly where he decided to get his average. So I would think what would be fair is to take those 8 quarters and then put an average on it, and then, so at least we can get back to, what seems to be fair.
I would agree with that, except I've been told back in December that, all right, let's start as of December.
Start as of December as far as what?
As
charging?
of, on 12/27, I talked with Steve. He said, pay the bill for $363,
Yeah,
which was an estimate.
okay, and that would have been the 4,167 cubic feet?
Correct. You see that estimate there?
Yeah.
So then why didn't you guys continue on with estimates throughout on 1/12/45?
Yeah. I'd love to say we all sit there and do the bills one by one.
I
but we
know you guys don't,
Okay.
right? But, I mean, that's,
This is day one of knowing about this.
right,
so,
Okay.
right. So there's my frustration of thinking that it's gonna get fixed, at least if I don't get an actual reading,
Yeah.
that I'll have the estimate. And it's not happening.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, Norman, do you know how the reading got to be where it is as far as this bill for this quarter for $1,400?
the way I understood it is it hadn't been reading all those
Quarters.
And
Right.
then it finally, it caught up and actually then started reading. And so it's actually caught up where he's been getting the $30 for,
If you put a new, Alex, help me out here. If you take the sensor head and put it on a new meter, does the sensor head know that it hadn't been calculating for 8 quarters and all of a sudden
I don't
it
know.
goes up?
And
Because that's what I'm hearing.
because I think these are the,
I understood.
Shouldn't they put a whole new,
well, you can change out the heads, you can change out the nictating plates and whatnot. There's 2 numbers with it, there's a serial number, there's an ECR number with it. I don't know when that changes the body of the meter. I would say once you move the head, it's gonna retain all that information.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much information it accurately gathered to begin with.
so I think we got 2 options here, because it looks to me, okay, so they probably reused the existing head, put a new meter body in,
Right.
Can I ask you guys quick too? If he took out the meter from pipe to pipe, and replace the whole thing with a new one.
Then it starts all over again.
So is that, I guess,
Unless
what is
he,
that? I
unless,
guess
unless
that's
he
what happened.
took the head out of it and put the head into the new meter.
So,
I don't think he did that. He took out the whole, he took out pipe to pipe, took it out, put in a new one, and took back what you see.
so I'm gonna show you real quick. So this is the head, this black piece.
Yeah.
And then this is the meter body.
Yep,
So
both of those were replaced.
both of those were replaced.
Yep,
Okay.
So these numbers, when was that? In December?
I think January.
January? So
January
those numbers should have reset.
They should have reset it to 0. So that's why I'm only thinking he possibly swapped the head out, is because the numbers almost look like they picked right up from where they left off.
In the rights.
Because if it was a brand-new meter, it would start from 0. And then,
And I looked at it and it did.
and it did.
So that's,
Okay,
I'm
okay,
like,
go ahead.
Mr. Chair. So, as much as I would like to make a decision tonight, I think we just need to get some more information from Steve, because it sounds like we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle, in my opinion. I
Yeah,
don't know, I mean,
and to give,
not that I'm not saying you're presenting everything, but, we don't.
Steve happened to not be here tonight, so it's.
I figured that out as you guys were talking, yeah.
Key piece to this whole operation here. And just to give you a quick food for thought on where I see things going is, the meter was replaced. I think what we're missing here is this 4,000 estimate needs to be subtracted from the 17,000. Because if you got estimated once, it needed to be retracted. So you have a couple options. You either, hold on real quick, just follow me for 2 seconds.
Yep.
We either stick with this meter route, and we have to figure out, we gotta follow the chain of custody here and how it all kinda happened, or we need to just, Title V it for a couple months and get the meter part straightened out, and then go back to, the meter part. 'Cause
But I also spent money on the meter originally, so that way I wasn't paying Title V, because Title V I
No,
was
no.
paying more.
I agree, but you might live or die by it, so it might be way more and it might be way less if we go by the meter.
How many quarters were estimated? And how consecutively were they estimated? When was their last accurate read from the meter in a consistent format in multiple quarters to prove out what the actual usage was?
I agree, and that's why I'm only going on
I'm-
the new meter. So like, everything prior, we have to just eat it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Gabe, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I'm
Because-
just thinking the new meter in the last couple quarters, like, we need to figure that out. Because the old one, you can't go back. I mean,
But, Todd, if I was you, okay, I would go and get an abatement form and file an abatement on this $1,400 bill to protect your rights. I'm not giving you
Okay.
legal advice, I'm just saying, that's, because
You said an abatement
once
form.
this bill becomes over 30 days old, then if you didn't appeal the bill, then the bill gets charged to you. So you need to get that $1,400 protected, and so that we can come to a conclusion. I don't know whether either Mr. Wanlin misspoke, or you might have misheard when he said, if you pay the $300, we're just gonna call it even, because someone correct me here, does Steve have that authority?
no.
So, again, you could have misheard, he could have misspoke. We don't know which, but I'm just saying is we want to try to be as fair as possible here, and also is because you received the bill for $1,400, that's what's due. Because it's just
So,
like,
so fill out, well, and that's why I called Steve first, and he said, come here,
you know,
Yeah.
would be the first step.
Because we're in agreement that there's a problem. So if you get that abatement, or at least put it in that holding pattern,
Okay?
you know what I mean, and we can kind of solve this.
Is that,
Right.
is that a
Yes,
form somewhere here in the town hall I can get, or is it,
Tax collector?
tax collector.
we'll have it?
Yeah, either that or the assessor's office, because you follow the same route for a abatement on your
The house.
bill as if it was your abatement on a tax bill.
Okay.
You have 30 days from when you receive it.
Which it's already over 30 days at this point.
Well,
From
when's it
bill
due?
date of
Isn't it due?
8/10.
Isn't it, when's it due? This bill that I just
It's due
read?
today, actually.
9/11. Bill date, it was 8/10. So,
Norma, do you mind calling up to the tax collector tomorrow morning? Obviously explaining the situation.
That
Yeah.
today
The gentleman was here,
verbally requested it,
yeah, so.
just to protect you.
Thank you.
We haven't met for 3 weeks, so you haven't had the opportunity to come before us, so I think we should give you a little, extension for that.
We need to know more, there's too many holes, so we just need to fill in the holes, so that way we can do the right thing and help you get through it. That's the long and short of it. I personally see, if we're gonna continue down this meter road, we're gonna have to entertain putting that meter on the backside, so we don't get these misreads, then it just eliminates this whole,
Well, from my understanding, I don't think there was any misreads from my understanding, but I think if you look at
Trying to look up for him.
the one sheet
Yeah.
for 1,200,
Yeah,
on
that's,
5/12/2015, I think that's when the meter stopped.
so real quick,
somewhere in the middle of that quarter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll give you the good news and the bad news. So the good news is, you have a reading here, 5,967, okay? Down at the very bottom when it started. Then it slowly went down 15, 16, 2, 2, 2. So those are either actual, or the meter's been dysfunctional for a long time, and you've been doing very well. So what could
Okay.
be, is that 17,000 could actually be the real number, because it's the new meter, and you've actually kinda done pretty well for last 8
So you're
years.
thinking 17,000 is my monthly usage now?
It might be. So this,
And Steve didn't think that was.
I'm not saying it
Right,
is or it isn't, but you get what I'm saying? I wanna make sure,
Do you have many single-family homes with a $1,400 water bill? I shouldn't say
Oh, no.
monthly, quarter.
yearly.
Yearly, or it'd be less than that even.
But if you got, if that was 3/4, it's not that far off. Because I think about an average, in this Norma, $1,000 to $1,400 is kind of about the average,
That's my calculator.
I believe, right? For bills?
Bills for a quarter?
No,
Oh,
for a year.
Okay.
It might be easier
Quarterly,
just
I
to
would
talk
say maybe
quarterly, right?
300-ish.
Yeah, which puts you about 1,200 a year.
Yeah.
So, that's,
And Alex, that's what you're thinking is happening, is that as the water's going by, it's not reading it correctly?
Right, I don't know if they have the ability to calculate, it's all done by magnetics, and if it's not spinning, it's not gonna read it, it's a very simple mechanism.
Kind of like the electric meter as it spins, right?
yep.
Well, this creates its own electricity, which creates its own power.
Or
to
if
the
it's
computer.
not spinning as fast. So let's
Right,
say a
if
little
it's
bit of
clogged a little
debris.
bit.
No, that's a low-flow meter, it'd pick it up.
Okay.
So,
So either it's working or it's not,
Yeah.
in your opinion?
yeah, it's,
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think it has the ability to figure out how much is passed the next time it livens up, if you will.
Right,
I think
but
that's a Trident meter.
it's a plastic meter now.
Oh, they put an iPearl in?
The census one.
I don't
The
know.
iPearls, oh, God. All right, whatever. So, that's why I question the accuracy of it, at this point.
How many bedroom houses, how many bedrooms?
We have 4 beds.
How many people live in the house?
We have 6. I got 4 kids under, 8, 6, and twins
Okay.
are 3.
Okay.
Wow, sorry.
The, in the state of Massachusetts, the water people, the DEP try to say, to water suppliers you should be striving for a gallon amount per person. So you've got someone a system that is very economical, medium range, and I believe, they tell you they don't want you going over, like 80 or 83 gallons a person, which is high. They prefer you to be down in the 40s.
And this
I
is
think
per
Per person.
Per day.
day? Okay.
Per day. And 65 is, again, these are just, I'm getting close here, but 65 is usually the common amount. for your 2,300 cubic feet, divided by the 91 or 92 days and a quarter, then multiply it times 8 to get the gallons.
Something
You're
about 4.8.
usually using 200 gallons a day. 200 gallons a day of a family of 6, seems about right. So that's the 2,300 cubic feet a quarter. That seems to be right.
Which is in line with-
1,200 cubic feet a quarter? I mean, because when you divide 6 into 200, that's, that goes, what's that, 6 into 18?
So you're
is
saying
3.
like on,
That's, you're way under the conservative average. You'd be below 40 gallons per person. And I know the young kids may or may not use it as far as taking showers, but they certainly chew it up in laundry. So, you know what I'm saying? And so I think what, the perspective, at least to be as fair as possible, is to try to determine, again, what should be your, what is your average usage? And it seems we've had quite a few readings, 2,100, 23, 21, 23, 22, one at 3,000, then one at 18, one at 25, 23, then one at 14, one at 26, one at 25, and then it went down to 12, which I believe is the lowest number, and then that's when you had
and
the
I would
crash
assume
with the
12
meter.
isn't accurate, because it's
It's
partial,
not
it's
shut
a
off.
partial, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So I'd throw that number out
Right,
altogether.
right. Because, again, I think somewhere in the low 2,000s, a cubic feet per quarter seems to be what you have been using, or at least what's been recorded here. And so, I guess, how do we fairly get between April 2015 and here we are in September 2017?
I think what we need to do is talk with Steve a little bit, find out how he did this. What we can do is do an average of all these meter readings, do the Title V, see where the two numbers come up.
Yeah, Title V is, yeah.
But you know what I mean, and just
Yeah.
because we only have two ways of billing, Title V or metered. And throw the two out there, you know what I mean, and try and figure out what works best for you. But in the meantime, we need to figure out this kind of chain of custody with this new meter and make sure it's working properly, so going forward, this doesn't happen again.
Can we at least say like, at least do an estimate of 2,300
That would be
if
more
the
than
meter
fair.
doesn't work?
I don't
Until we
know
know
if
the
we-
meters work, at least, and then we, because he's saying it works, but
But if you were to take the 2,300 estimate and put it, and fill that in where all these zeros are, and pull out that 41, 100 out of it, and 100, and 100, and the 17, actually it would be more than 8. I think you're gonna be about what you've already paid plus the 1,400. I think it's gonna be close.
well, from my understanding, I would only add it in for this year.
Correct, because I think, like I said earlier, I believe either you misheard or Mr. Wallman
Correct.
misspoke when he said, pay this and you're all set. Probably couldn't get it out of my pocket fast enough, okay? But, I mean, it's, we'll deal with it. Let's get Steve in the room and let's get to the bottom of this and try to be as fair and equitable as possible.
You're on our radar, you might have to come back for another meeting, but,
Or at least talk over the phone, maybe?
exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have a phone number for me?
248-4953.
No.
No? You don't like that one?
I don't know what that is.
508-248-4953. You're asking for a phone number to call the office?
No, for me. Do you guys have my phone number to
We have your
contact me?
phone number, that I know.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you need from me?
I have one question.
Of course.
So, you're saying if we took the 17,133, subtracted the 4,167, giving us 12,966, that is what you would be agreeable to have your bill based on? Because that would be,
No, that's what Steve is telling me, what it should be, going backdating it all the way to between 5/12 and 9/10 of 2015, when the meter failed.
Yep.
As far as agreeable, I think Gabriel, I think you're saying something to this effect of pay whatever, 2,300 for this year for 3,154,810 to get up to date.
Yeah, more or less.
I mean,
The tough part is, I don't know if we even can. Like, we need to do a little research and, like, there's rules and stuff that we have to follow, you know what I mean? It's not to say
you
we,
have state regulations too.
exactly, and by our bylaws and stuff. So it's not to say that we couldn't amend or change, but like I said, where you're one of a handful of people this comes up against, you know, we just gotta make sure that, at the end of the day, I wanna help you.
I work for an insurance company, so I understand how sometimes your hands can be tied,
Yeah,
and you gotta check other things.
correct. And we don't want our hands to be tied, but we have to figure out what we can do for you.
We will be reading meters in another 3 to 4 weeks, because you've only got 2 readings so far in 2017. So that one might be significant in terms of correcting that 17,000 or adding to it or whatever. It gives us another.
Which
another
two do you
figure.
have, did you say?
Pardon?
Which two do you have? Meter readings?
Well,
We
you
don't have any, we only have the one.
You have January and you have,
No,
January was an
you have
estimate.
we just got the one.
March and, no, 7/19 and
No.
April 5th, no?
4 or 5 was
This is
not in.
just estimated, the 100.
No, this is actual.
And that's my other frustration is that
yeah.
they're not, it says actual when it should say estimate.
You went from 41,000 to 59,000.
Well, we don't know how that happened, Paul, because it didn't happen in that period of time. Couldn't have. You know, unless you were letting the water run down the street.
How's your toilets? You got any leaky toilets?
No. My father-in-law is a plumber, so.
Yeah.
I still think it'll be interesting to see.
Can I
what the
make a
next-
motion that we, table this until we get more information from?
I don't even think we need a motion,
Okay.
we'll just table this, let us do a little bit of recon, we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Either, you know, probably Norma or Steve will get back to you, but we'll touch base with Steve. Get to the
And
bottom.
by when?
I guess,
You want
Yeah,
end
but-
of
well,
the
when
week?
Steve gets back and then you're.
I'm
gonna-
hoping this week,
Okay.
you know, and then worst case scenarios, maybe get you up here for the next meeting, you know, which is in 2 weeks, right, I believe? I don't think we have any hiccups in between this one. You know what I mean, and hopefully have some answers for you.
Okay.
Hopefully we have answers over the phone, we don't even have to come
Right.
back.
September 25th, and if you need to give, did you settle the phone number business? Give it the number to Norma so she can.
You have it? Okay.
I'm guessing you're probably gonna have to come back to another meeting, only because
That's not
the
right.
strangeness of it is gonna probably require a full board's
More
vote.
questions.
You know, so, sorry. But we'll straighten it out, I promise you that.
And Robert, you said a tax abatement form,
Yes,
and the tax collector
or the assessor should have
or
it.
assessor should have it,
Yeah, yeah.
but they're not here right now.
No, they're not.
So come back in the morning
Norma's
to
gonna
get it.
call in the morning and make sure she reserves one.
They could probably email it to you as well.
All
We'll
right,
put
I'm
a
good.
placeholder in for you, so at least they're aware that, hey, we're aware that they're aware, so. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
That number's not right. It's 128,000 gallons. Divided over 200 days until the 19th of July is 640 gallons per day.
Yeah,
It's not right,
no, it's not right.
No, that's not right.
No,
because I just did all the conversions.
But,
it's right if something's leaking, but it's not right if,
No, and even,
But the thing is, you went all these months without paying.
he'd
anything.
know if something was leaking
yeah.
at 640 gallons a day.
you,
It's a big leak.
you know the size of a pen on
No, I know.
it's 10,000 gallons a week.
Yeah. No, the numbers don't add up.
No, like I said, I
reading.
just did all the conversions, 128,000 gallons.
Yeah,
And divide that by the 200 days, it's a lot of water.
yeah. Okay,
All right,
next.
so no more pour tonight.
We're handcuffed here.
Let's go with, he didn't really have anything, I did talk to him briefly today. Nothing really super crazy. he didn't get into anything with me per se, other than the pump station stuff that, so. He would've told us on the status of design, alright. So, going back down to the Route 169 pump station property status,
Wasn't that supposed to, all this supposed to be McClure?
kinda. But I just wanna give you a heads up on where the,
Okay.
pump station status is from my point of view. Which is, me and Robin had a call last Friday from DEP, the head of the DEP, what was his name?
Right, super.
Marty Suberg. So, we kind of, we went past that 90-day window. We had to address a couple concerns, kind of get them up to speed with where we're at, which is basically, you know, we're 95% there, we're just working on some stuff. You know, basically lawyer jargon, you know, with the buyers and sellers. So, we wrote him a letter, kind of addressing where we're at. Robin wrote it, I gave it my blessing, which is basically what I'm just saying is, you know, the timeline of how everything was. That all went forward, and did he get back to you, Robin, or who's the other woman for the Worcester office? Did she get back to you or anything, so?
I haven't heard back from the commissioner, I did talk to her.
Basically, the long and short of it is, we got yelled at and, you know, they want the pump station bought as soon as possible. So, you know, to keep that going. So he doesn't want it to be a hiccup in any of the whole Casella line and the Waterloo project. So me and Robin are on top of it, along with Chris, and we're pretty good, right, for the most part. I mean, you wanna come talk about it? You got any new information?
So you know, we've been working on the PNS with town council. He sent this PNS this afternoon. It looks like we thought we had a lot of outstanding issues. It looks like we're pretty close there. Based on their attorney, there were a couple of questions. One, they wanted to take out, the contingency that we would only sign the PNS and purchase the property if Exxon paid for it. We have an opportunity, I've talked with Exxon, they may send us 2 checks, one for the deposit and one for the balance. If they do that, then we could take that section out. So I've responded back to him on that. Town council, because we don't know exactly what's gonna happen with the zoning, town council has put the option in, for the buyer to decide whether or not you want to have an, easement of the property, the main lot, or if you want to purchase it. And as you know, what you talked about at the last meeting was that, zoning would come into effect. If it was bought, it could be looked at as subdivision, and if it was just an easement, then it would be, you'd need setback variance. Either way, you're gonna still have to go to, ZBA. I did have a conversation with the chairman of ZBA and told him kind of what we were doing to find out if he saw any issues. He said that as long as we weren't doing anything crazy, it didn't sound like it should be an issue, as long as there's no, abutters that are concerned, and I think the butters are far enough away that it, if anything, we had abutters, it would be people trying to get this moved forward and approved. So that's where we are. I have the draft, if you'd like to see it. I'm hoping to, I don't know what you were thinking about getting a blessing on the language. I mean, if we can get this settled, I'd love to see us get it signed tomorrow. So I don't know how much you want to go through it for approval.
I don't have, probably 10 minutes, and then I gotta jet, but if you wanna try to go through it and that, I'll be
I
glad
mean,
to.
you wanna just go through the cliff notes of it? I mean, I know McClure told me it was pretty lengthy, because I think it was a template from another purchase, so you go, so.
Sure.
But,
Okay, so I think I kind of gave you the highlights. The sellers are Tammy Mitchell and Richard Stearns. The description of the premises, you've already seen that. So the buyer's sole discretion, either a fee simple in ownership of Lot 1, as shown on the plan, consisting of about 1,100 square feet, more or less, said Lot 1 currently being unimproved, or a perpetual exclusive easement for buyer and assessors and assigns. So I did explain that,
Excuse me, Robin.
Yes, sir.
1,100 or 11,000?
11,000.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, thank you. If the buyer chooses to purchase the aforementioned easement rather than the fee, the buyer will be responsible for all local real estate taxes if attributed. So if we don't purchase Lot 1, they were concerned that we'd still be using it, but they'd have to pay taxes. So we would have a conversation with the assessors on that and how to kind of get that abated, so they wouldn't be responsible for that. I think that their property would be taken into consideration because there's a town use, so they don't have the ability to that property, and it would take away value anyway if we weren't there. So I think that that'll kind of work out.
I'm missing something. Lot 1, is Lot 1 the described area to where we've always talked about the location of the pump station?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so, what wouldn't the town buy?
Well, there's three pieces. There's Lot 1, and then there's an easement A, which is the driveway piece
Okay, so.
to get to the property, and then there's an easement B, and we would only use that for construction purposes, and then that would generally
Okay,
go
then that would
away.
go away. So really, if the entire parcel, which is approximately 6 acres, so we'd call that let's call that Lot 3, just for discussion. Lot 1 is the specific area that they want to put the pump station. And Lot B is that defined area of where the easement is going to be to where the owners of Lot C give that easement to the town. Is that correct? All right, and if in fact, for some reason, whatever may happen, if for some reason the town chooses, they can buy Lot B. And if
No,
they buy Lot B.
There is no Lot B.
No, Lot B is the easement area.
No, we don't, they've already agreed to that.
Agreed to
So
what?
no, we're not buying, you're talking about, there is no Lot B. There's a Lot 1,
I'm
there's
calling
an
the
easement A
area.
and
I'm
an easement
defining-
B.
I'm defining the easement. We can't have, why would there be two easements?
One is for the permanent easement, the other
That's
is.
temporary construction easement.
Oh, I understand that.
Temporary
That's, okay, that would be.
That's
the-
all.
That A and B.
So those are two different parcels. So the pump station land that you need is in Lot 1.
Okay, Lot 1, Lot A, okay, that's Lot 1. And then the easement that is going to be the permanent easement, I was referring to that as Lot B.
Okay, I think you're confusing things then. You have an ability to, the way he's written this is Lot A, easement, Lot 1, easement A, and easement B could all be easements.
Yep.
If you choose. Or Lot 1 would be a purchase, and easement A and easement B would be maintain easements.
Okay.
A and B are not contemplated in purchasing. So that's already gone by, they've agreed to that.
A and
That's
B,
not,
which
that
is
hasn't
the
been.
easement area.
A and B is the driveway, basically.
Right, and then you got Lot 1. But it is possible, depends on what the Board of Appeals does.
What Court of Appeals?
Aren't they going to the Board of Appeals? Because
Zoning Board.
the zoning Board of
Oh,
Appeals.
not court.
Right, zoning Board of Appeals. They're going for road
Well,
setback.
we've got to go for property setbacks, because we'd be within the 10 feet, and then the frontage. So the ZBA chair
I
said,
thought
if we went into ownership,
first of all, we're not gonna build a pump station on an easement land. We're gonna have to own the land, in fee simple. Oh, we're not gonna own the land?
that's not what this is contemplated. This is contemplating either or, at your discretion.
So
So it
you're saying
depends
that
on
the
what happens
sellers-
at
The sellers
ZBA.
are willing to sell, well, if they're willing to sell, we have to be a buyer. What are we buying?
Lot A.
Oh,
Either
Lot
you're
A.
buying Lot
So
A,
either
or
the
you're
right to
buying an
use it, Or
easement,
you're buying it.
a perpetual easement, either way.
Lot-
Because of the-
Lot A, in order to build on Lot A, last year, we had gone to town meeting. Mr. Pecos developed what we would have needed to be exempt from zoning for doing such a structure. And that exempted from side lot, rear lot, use, square footage. And one thing that it didn't exempt from is road setback. You need either 30 or 40 feet from road setback in that district. And the lot that property is going on does not have that. So from day one, a special permit or variance needed to be achieved from the zoning board of appeals. So that's one of them, okay? And then when it has been I guess, contemplated by town attorney in saying that the town would be at risk for allowing this easement to happen if they own the land, which is the land that's gonna be between the building and the actual Route 169. It was then chose that that was now gonna be easement land. Then go and takes that piece of property to where it doesn't have enough frontage that's required under the zoning bylaw for that district.
Well, and I think to, just to stop you real quick, Mr. Ron,
through ZBA, find out what ZBA is willing to do. And then you'll be able to make that choice.
that's what I'm
So
saying,
we've
yes.
just left you options open, so.
That's what I'm saying, but if
That's all.
ZBA comes back and says
But-
no, then we have time between now to put it on the meeting, which changes the zoning laws to make that one correction. And then this language is still giving us the option to go back to the start and say, now we're gonna ascertain this property instead of leasing it. Right? If I'm,
I hadn't contemplated that we would go that far as to needing to put something on town meeting. That's why I had the conversation with the
I'm
chairman.
hoping we're not either, but what I'm getting at
So
is,
are you asking me to, ask the Board of Selectmen tomorrow night to put a placeholder on for a zoning change?
I think it needs to be corrected.
What would
I
be-
don't wanna deal with this again.
What would be corrected? The bylaw that we already got in place that's incomplete relative to frontage and required frontage and required setback? Because that's what would have to be added to that exemption.
I don't know what bylaw you put in, so. I
There was a
didn't follow
bylaw that
it.
was put in last year. Mr. Pecos put it in with, he worked on it with Mr. Gordon.
But that
Which
would,
exempt-
that would have eliminated all of this.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
it get
we-
accepted?
It did,
What's that
but
bylaw?
minus the frontage piece, which is what we now have to go to the ZBA for.
Okay.
It's really the front, it's really the setback is the problem.
Okay.
And I don't,
Either or,
I think you have to go to the ZBA, so as soon as we get this PNS
We do.
signed, we can go to ZBA and get that done and find out which way will make sense. I think you're pretty secure in the way you're doing this now.
but we have options.
That's what we tried to do, is to make sure
That
we
makes
have
sense.
options.
no, I hear what you're saying,
Okay.
okay?
So-
I just don't agree with it, but that's okay.
All I do know is we need to obtain that piece of property.
Without a doubt.
So I don't get screamed at.
Without a doubt, we will obtain that
From the
property.
DEP again. I took a bullet this time, I'm not taking another one.
Again,
We're getting this done.
the position by town council of the town having liability for owning property that we allow someone to drive over it is the reason why we need to add to the Board of Appeals the request for lack of frontage. Because the frontage is there, but it's just, if we have it there, then we've got to allow the neighbor to drive over it.
So, this has been put together by town council, so I'm comfortable with the direction that he's been asking us and suggesting that we do. And I hope that you are.
Have you sent that out?
This just came in today,
Are you gonna send that out to the commission?
to the what?
To the commission?
Yeah, I had actually planned on printing this and seeing if you wanted to go through it piece by piece, and that's why I just asked what the chairman would like to do. So if we are able to get this finalized with their attorney, who was CC'd on this today too, you know, I would be looking for you to take a vote to approve and allow us to get this done.
if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
But I think a lot of what you have in here has already been pretty, I think it's there. I mean, they required $9,000 for deposit. I've talked to Exxon. They are supposed to be sending me 2 checks. I'm hoping that that will happen this week. We have a very short, Gabe talked about the letter that we sent. We have a very short window to actually make this purchase. And it's by, I think it's the second week of October. So we need to
We
keep
got pretty much
moving
like 30
forward.
days.
We already have the environmental study done. That's, the phase 1 has been completed already. So I think you're in good shape. I think we can go right to, as soon as you approve this and they approve this, we'll be able to go right to ZBA and get those pieces done, and as soon as we can get that. And the chairman did say that we could get on, as soon as we get the application in, he would direct to set a meeting instead of waiting for multiple ones. And I think those are, I mean, have you seen this, any of the drafts? None of the drafts have come to you?
No,
No.
I believe we have.
No,
thought
some of the
they have.
PNSs have.
I thought I'd sent out some of these
Mr. Chairman,
PNSs.
question.
Go ahead.
Robin, other than
Yes.
boilerplate paragraphs that Mr. Cosgrove usually puts in there,
Most of it is that.
what is in there that jumps off the page as far as being unusual or something that one would say is, geez, why did we ever put that in there?
I think we've scrubbed anything, for the most part, that might have jumped off the page to say, we're doing a quick claim deed. We are doing, I've asked Cosgrove to start ASAP to get the title search, so we've got to get that done. I've contacted and talked with the state, so if we can get the checks from Exxon made out to the parties, so we'll make the check for the $9,000 out to their attorney, we'll have the check to, for the $82,000 made out to Cosgrove, so it's not gonna come through here, so we don't have to worry about procurement pieces. It's a gift, and I confirmed with DOR that, yes, they'll consider that as it's a gift of land. So that was one of the big pieces that we needed to figure out.
Did their lawyer ask for the gift part?
No, that was our internal procurement.
Oh, okay,
portion.
okay.
No, this is just what
Just to
how we're
expedite it.
working it with
All
Exxon.
right, and has the appeal been filed with the Board of Appeals?
No, we
And
can't do that until this is signed. This only just says, here's the agreement, you know what a P&S is. It says, here's the agreement, here's the choices, the buyer has the choice to do this, this, and this. We go to ZBA, if we get cleared, then we purchase lot 1, and then the other 2 are
Yeah,
easements.
but we're looking at close to 6 to 7 weeks minimum. He's got to be advertised for 2
Right,
consecutive weeks.
and that's why I'm asking.
You got to have the hearing, and then you got a 20-day appeal period. I don't know, that's 6 or 7 weeks to me, but
So the ACO only stresses that we need to purchase the property.
We'll know whether or not there's a potential appeal, I think, right away.
And that's why my thought process was, I think we should change that bylaw anyways and just work it parallel, because this is gonna happen again, or there's gonna be isn't there other pump stations going in?
I'm not sure.
Well, many towns exempt water and sewer infrastructure from any zoning. It just exempts it.
I think
Wherever
we
you
need
need to
to
place it,
fix
you
that
can
no matter what.
put it in.
So-
Nuts.
So I think we should entertain that, and if they work hand in hand, and we get it before, then we don't even need to go to ZBA, correct?
And town meeting would be before the due date that we have to finish.
Alex, the town that you work in, do they have such a bylaw that exempts water and sewer?
Yeah.
Do they do?
I worked in Georgetown and it
All
did
right,
too.
if you could, I don't want to go backwards, we should get a copy of that, and that's what should be on October's town meeting, to replace what's currently, the 3 paragraphs, that's what's there,
Okay.
if you don't mind. Okay, or Robin, if you got one that.
I mean, we
clearly
probably go to
says-
just about any town. I mean,
Okay,
this is
okay.
kind of insane at this point. So,
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So can I make a motion that, we approve the purchase and sale agreement as is, since the town's council has recommended it.
Pending any changes recommended by town council?
Correct. Because they're gonna have to approve it again anyways, as well as ZBA is gonna have pretty much the final say. So, I
So I
mean,
got a motion, I got a second. Who's second? Anybody?
I'll second it.
Okay.
So discussion, just a quick boiler pieces. The Stearns are gonna retain the entrance, or they're gonna retain
Ownership.
ownership
in
of the
it.
driveway. Okay, we will have an easement to access our pump station. Part of that is Exxon is gonna hook up that property to water.
And that was another question, yes, we had agreed that they would have water service. They've asked whether or not it would be one or two services. I told them we go by the Southbridge water regulations. My understanding is that it would be one service
Service
to
per
come out
parcel.
and split and go to two buildings. So I've asked Chris to confirm that with them,
And did Exxon have any issues with that?
not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay,
They're fine, they're just gonna need to connect before the pump station to where the,
okay. So, other than that, I think those were the only couple.
I think that's it. I
They
think we're
wanted the
there.
deposit bigger and whatever, but,
And what about the maintenance piece?
we're responsible for our own maintenance. They're responsible to keep the driveway open.
Okay.
Once the ownership of that driveway stayed with the owner, the maintenance went away.
Right.
That was, again, that was the issue of maintenance liability.
So, I think we've come a long way in a short time when we got the call. And I thank the chairman for, coming to that meeting and talking with the commissioner.
so we got a motion, we got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I-
Aye.
Okay,
Come on.
we'll get it done. Thank you very much.
Have a good night,
Thanks,
Alex.
Alex. Appreciate it.
And,
Do you have
right to the
anything else,
second,
Randy?
Alex. If I may ask Robin, the Exxon Mobil's money for the payment, for our supervisor that we had hired last year, the superintendent, we haven't been reimbursed for that yet.
You don't have a superintendent yet. I don't know what you mean.
Kevin Pecos, when we hired him, the special.
No, this is that 250,000 is going forward. I'm not sure what you mean. Are you talking about bills from last year?
No, I'm talking about the
Or this
money
year?
we took out of our account to pay for Kevin Pecos, which I know I was believing that
Did you submit it?
his payment was going to be reimbursed by ExxonMobil.
Not all of it. I think he was also doing some planning for you and some other things. He
No,
was
I thought
acting
it
as a
was every bit of it,
superintendent.
every bit.
I don't remember that.
Okay, if I may, Norma, could you go back and check the minutes from, it had to be either November of 2000, December of 2016. I think that's when it was, or
And
was
check
it?
the town meeting to see if you had actually gotten a warrant article. Because there was a lot you had him doing, not just the Exxon
I
stuff.
thought we were splitting them up between him and that DEP grant. I thought that.
Some of it, but then you also had some of the, I don't know, your procedures and things like that, putting together.
Well, I
stuff.
guess Norma will find out through the
Yeah.
minutes if possible, and then we'll know.
Right, as far as when Mr. Pecos had worked for us, his salary,
Oh.
it was, I know it was my understanding that his salary was being taken care of by the ExxonMobil amount that was gonna come in for helping to set up the office and things like that.
But
Yeah.
either way,
Kevin was gone by the time we finished that, wasn't he?
no, he was
No,
here.
no,
He's
no,
still here.
no, that's why, see,
He started after.
that's the only
us,
reason,
so-
I thought that's the reason why
Yeah.
we justified hiring him, because
With the 250,000?
it was, I thought
Kevin
it was
was
out
after?
of 200,000.
Kevin was after that, because
You're talking about the $200,000 grant that we received?
No, I'm
the
talking about
earmark?
money specifically from ExxonMobil, in addition to it was included in the settlement. There was line items, and there was a line item for water and sewer, for that amount of money.
Yeah, they figured about $100,000 a year for 3 years.
No, that was supposed to start during construction, once that get going.
No, that's the
not
oversight.
Kevin's
No, that's
stuff.
the engineering
No,
oversight.
that's not
They
engineering.
had superintendent money.
Find the minutes.
Super, 250,000 is superintendent money that
Correct.
was going forward. It was not for Kevin. I guess if you had kept Kevin as your superintendent, it would have, but it wasn't supposed to go backwards.
No, it's not backwards, because we
Okay.
closed the
It's supposed to
Exxon
start
deal
at the beginning.
before Kevin came on board. Kevin came on board after Exxon.
After we received the money? I
Yep.
don't-
No,
All
after we
right, you'll have to
received
tell
the
me.
plan for getting the money. We hadn't received
No,
the
no,
check
no,
yet.
the check. When you
Oh,
got
the-
the money, you couldn't have spent it before.
No.
Once we signed the IMA, then that's when it came. So I'll look at the dates.
I
don't
It was
remember that.
It
I
was.
think you had I think all that money
All right.
was supposed to go forward. And I think that you were using some of the money from the grant, and I thought you had appropriated some money, so.
None of the money from, I think we had moved, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
no.
think what we had agreed to is that we would fund it out of our own budget, anticipating the repayment from the ExxonMobil agreement.
Well, I don't think you could have done that, because the ExxonMobil agreement, the final, you didn't even know we were gonna do anything for superintendent, so that was never ever.
No, it was
contemplated.
included in there, Robin. Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember
Absolutely, it was
talking
included in
about it.
there.
I know it was included in there,
Yeah.
but I thought that was, I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'll have to look at the
Let's
dates,
just-
because
just go
maybe
back
I
and
have
check.
it backwards.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's a lot of water that goes over the dam. Let's just
Can
go
we
back
put
and check.
it on the agenda for next meeting? Thanks.
Anything else? Route 20, the grant is in, I haven't heard anything, I'm not sure when that's supposed to be done.
Okay.
Anticipation of when the water betterments are going to be reimbursed.
Right now, I've been meeting with the finance team, they're working on, the debt repayment, and we're working on the betterments process. We need to go to DOR with a complete package. It's about, I'd say 75% ready to go, so.
And the tricky thing there is having the DOR approve the repayment. Or
They kind of need to bless your whole plan, so that when we
Okay.
get at the end of the year and we're doing our Schedule A, that they're not going, what did you do that for?
Okay,
So,
and do we know when free cash is going to be certified?
I would love to say by the end of September, beginning of October,
So 2 to 3 weeks?
I'm hoping.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have a repeat of last year.
Which, that went on and on and on and on. Yeah. We
Still
don't-
cleaning that up. Let's
Can
see if I have
you-
anything else.
Can you ask the selectmen to put a placeholder for that, for town meeting? And we will get you the,
The bylaw change?
yeah,
Doesn't it have to go through the planning board?
or whoever.
They're gonna make a recommendation on it, if
Yeah,
it's zoning,
we've
they
gotta
do.
Put it through the planning board.
I had asked Alan at one point why we did that, because in the towns that I've been in, they didn't do it for zoning. And his comment was, it assists people so that the butters have noticed that the town's gonna do something. So I'm not sure the planning board will agree to support this, so that was just a comment. In other towns, they haven't, they've thought that the municipal public use need would come first, but, that's not been the case here, so. Just a word. So one of you may wanna have a conversation with the planning board before it gets to placed on. If you can talk to somebody
When's
there
that
tomorrow.
deadline to put it on?
Tomorrow night, they'll close the warrant, but I'll put the placeholder on, and
That's what
then
I'm
you've
saying.
got a couple of weeks to maybe have a conversation with the planning board and
Okay.
decide whether or not they will support it.
Thank you.
So Warren is closing tomorrow night.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we need to do that.
Okay.
Do we need a motion for that? To instruct Robin to do that?
I make a motion to have Robin put a placement holder on the bylaws.
Second. All those in any discussion? No? Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimous.
So I also had a question of me, and I told him I didn't know. What is the board doing with your sewer rate? you had a study and the recommendation was to increase it. Are you waiting to see what your retained earnings are? Have you had another conversation with that consultant as to, did he take into the consideration that Mr. Lemansky had let him know that there were only 3/4? It sounded like that came as a surprise to him.
Actually, when we were at the meeting, Jen had made a suggestion to him that he should put an asterisk next to that $638,000 number, and he chose he didn't want to, because he didn't have, he says that number is certified. And of course, it's certified because of what was turned into the state as far as timing goes.
Yeah, you could have had a note further down. He couldn't change that number, but he could have added a note that there was a quarter missing of
And
revenues.
that's, me personally, that's what's frustrating about that expert, how he came across such an anomaly, and he did nothing, no other research for it. I'm saying to myself, gosh almighty, you get this huge hole in the road or a bridge that's blown out, and he just chooses to jump over it.
Well,
That was what was frustrating for
you
me.
know, it's one of those things. If it's garbage in, garbage out, if he came in and the first time he ever saw anybody say that there were only 3/4 there, he wouldn't have had that information. And he had already heard that the commission had been having conversations about needing to fix its rate, and the rate was going down. So I don't think he saw it as an anomaly if this group didn't tell him that there were only 3/4.
And Rob,
And that
We didn't
wasn't
talk to him
something-
prior to that.
Yeah.
So it's, you know.
So it's just kind of communication, but that, it would have been good to kind of follow up with them and say, can you make an adjustment or take a look at it, based on the revenues, if you know that the Q4 didn't add into that.
Yeah. Getting back to my personal frustration with the job that he did, is both water and sewer are the flow is consistent. You have 600 customers. Those 600 customers over the year give you $1.2 million. So, when you go and see that the income was reduced by 25%, you'd have to stop and say, how did that happen? Because we have the same people all the time, whether they're getting water or flushing the toilet. It's the same every quarter. It's 250, 280,000. That should be coming in. Why was there only $750,000 in this 1 year? I would have thought a huge flag or light bulb would have went off. And
He
that's what's
probably
frustrating.
expected to be told that that would have been different, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I think that because we were also telling him, or you were telling him, that there was a switch from Title V to meters, which automatically you lose funding. I think in one property, did we lose like $50,000 of income?
47,500,
So
somewhere around there, yeah.
he
that
might
happens.
have been thinking that was the anomalies,
Yeah.
that shift would answer that question.
Yeah, but we've taken on a new
So-
customer that's back at 35 to 40,000.
So I guess my question is, where are you going from here at this point?
I was under the impression we were gonna talk about that
Tonight.
under old business tonight.
Is, Norma, that's on the schedule?
Yes.
In fact,
Oh, okay.
we are,
You wouldn't mind taking
Hopefully
it up now
planning
so
on-
I can go
Yeah,
home?
no, let's talk about it now, because
I know, I thought this was gonna be on the agenda 2 months ago, but here it is. Are we gonna go to it right now?
let's go do it right now.
Okay.
Let's get it out of the way. Has anybody,
Norma, is there any backup paperwork relative to that in the packet?
Yes.
Okay.
Steve sent it out.
I see the minutes of rate study workshop for Steve Alcott. That was back in '08. That's when we set the original rate
Yep, and then the Pioneer is what Steve sent out.
in the Pioneer Consulting Group,
Yes.
which was Doug Gartner. Okay,
so where was that meeting left? Because I wasn't at the meeting.
which meeting? Where was it left? Where was it left?
Yes.
It was left, this is my report. These are certified numbers, and you're on a crash course. And next year, you're only gonna have retained earnings of, what did it say, $122,000, right here. And when I gave a call to a town accountant, I think that she quoted, this was 6 weeks ago, there's $2.2 million in our account. I could be mistaken about that number, but I know it was a large number.
Have we paid the bill yet?
Paid what bill? Yeah, he's already paid for this. Yep, $19,000.
Usually you hold back bills.
Right, right. In the quarter that was missing, I believe, Norma, was it $319,000? That's the quarter that was missing of their income? It was huge, it was huge. But
And that was because we had some of
Yes.
the issues down the plant, right?
it was because of
It was
the timing of the
was all
billing.
messed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think that he was told that.
But on the same token, I've never seen the guy, never talked to him, I don't think he talked to anybody. Did he go down to the office and talk to you guys?
He talked to Steve on the phone several times, and I think he made his way around to different departments.
He came up here talking to us about the direct funds, indirect costs, because he was, I guess you guys had asked him to make sure he took a look at that and proved that
And was
out,
he
which I think
shocked
he
that it
did.
was as much money as it was, like Rob Lemansky is?
No, he thought we were low.
I thought you were, oh, yeah? Yeah,
We're not gonna get you going on that one.
yeah.
I, oh, Mr. Chair.
No,
So-
go ahead. Yeah.
I believe that he was recommending a 4% increase in the rates.
I think it was 28% is what his recommendation was.
Oh, yes, there.
Well, how much, is it 28?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
28 gets pitchforks and,
Yeah, incoming.
Well, I think the commission had said that you understood that you needed to do something with the rate. You just didn't think, I think Lemansky said it didn't sound like it was that drastic as to what he thought if the fourth quarter wasn't there. But at some point,
I think we all thought around somewhere between 5 and 10%. Because there is, I think our big concern was when everybody switches over to the meter, you know what I mean, we had originally set it up on Title V. So it's more or less recalibrating the model, you know, with all these new meters going on, and okay, is the meter rate correct? Because we don't want a shortfall, not accounting for our Title V.
right,
I
I
believe
think one of
that-
his recommendations was to go to all meter and then make the rate for the meter the correct amount that you need to operate. So it might be a conversation for later, you know, another day, but we did wanna know, I know the finance team was looking at what were you gonna do next on that.
If we go to page, I guess it's page 3. 1, 2, 3, so, excuse me, it's page 5. We talk about these are the sources of income. You've got unmetered services, which is, I believe that is Title V, $70 per bedroom. Then you got metered services, this is our quarterly fee of $30. Then you get the step rate, this is our meter rate, which from a cubic foot, it's about 8 cents a cubic foot. And then you go down into the rates for what we.
The MTA.
The MTA. I kinda like to keep things simple. I would like to see us, why don't I make a motion? I make a motion that we increase our sewer rates that would be effective this next coming quarter, and that we use, first of all, is our specialist, a Pioneer Consulting Group, had recommended a 20%, 28.57 increase in those rates. And then in the step rates, he recommended a 33%. Based on the fact that we can increase rates next quarter, the quarter after that, next year. So I'm from the point of view, sorry for the long motion, again, that's it, of just taking this step by step. First of all is, we do need to increase the rates. I'm not saying we need to increase them because we haven't increased them in 8 years, or not 9 years, but we do need to increase them just for the simple reason that we've got the increase in cost, and as we see our equipment, which is constantly replacing this, replacing that, and when you've got motors that cost a pump $60,000 down in Burlingame Road, I mean, these aren't little things. So, my simple shorthand form of the motion would be to raise rates 9%. And I'm doing this so that, again, we can just discuss it, but raise it 9%, that would include, that would include for unmetered service, that would, the step rate, and also for any surcharges that we have. Those would go up 9% as well.
The metered and Title V, all of it, did you say? I'm sorry.
The Title V would go up 9%, so it would go, if it's $70 now, 9%, 9 times 7 is, it would go up $6.30. So it goes from, it could be, the new number would be $76.30. And then the step rate, which is 8 cents, so that would be going up it would be 0.072. 9 times 8 is 72, right?
Why 9%? Just,
Because 9%, he's talking 28%, and three years would be at 27%. That's why I'm at 9.
okay.
Okay? So that if we, rather than just, because we asked them point blank, and I realized, Mr. Chairman, you weren't here. And Paul, I don't think you were here either. Correct? Yeah, it was just yourself
Alex.
and Alex and myself. I asked him point blank, what about, doing a step? He says, you're in too much trouble here. You really gotta raise your funds here. So, and again, if we find out certified funds in 3 or 4 weeks from now are in the dumper, like he said our certified funds right now, he's projecting like that 638,000, then we're gonna have to raise a lot of cash in a short period of time. But I think our certified funds are gonna come out close to $1 million, if not over $1 million.
Which is normal, where you usually are.
Which we've been, but what we've
But
gotta keep.
that's actually under what you usually are. Don't you usually have it about 1.3 for your retained earnings?
Based on the report, it fluctuated,
It's like 1.2, then, chips down and.
went down, it was $1,018,000, $1,222,000, $1,118,000, and then last, 2 years ago it was $933,000, and then last year, because it didn't include one of the quarters, which was $319,000, he said it was he said certified was $630, and that's correct, certified was $630, but it didn't include that one quarter of, I think it was $319,000, which was
Put
billed.
it back up at that 900
But
range.
it's still going down.
Correct.
It is still going down, but I think that's from improvements, right?
Improvements, so with the 9%, it's gonna add $90,000, approximately. Because if we're collecting $1 million, you go up 9%, that's about 90 grand. So I think it's a rate that certainly is more than defendable. Consumer price index for the period of time that we're talking about, I think, when I looked at it, was 12.3% for the amount of these 8 years. So we're even lower than the CPI. So,
So why'd you just go up the CPI then?
because we can always go up.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just saying why don't we, we know we need a modest increase right now. Let's take a look at it, we can take another look at it as soon as we get certified cash from the DOR, and then say to ourselves, we might have missed this. Or we can say, it's fine, let's wait until the next cycle or next 2 cycles and put the pulse on it.
Okay.
So the motion is to go up 9% on on the Title V rate, the current gallon rate, and also on our surcharges. And leave the administration alone at the $30.
I'll second that.
Shouldn't the administration go up at the same too?
No, I don't think so. He mentioned too that $30 pretty standard across the industry, regardless
Okay.
of what their other rates are.
Yeah, in fact, he recommended just leave it alone.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, that was a zero right here.
Do we have to,
Go ahead, yeah.
discussion, do we have to go up 9% for every category, or can we do 9% for unmetered, and then what would 9% be for .08?
72 cents. For a,
.72
yeah,
cents.
it would be
Point
actually,
072 cents.
correct. So instead of being 8 cents, it would be 8.72.
So it's 0.7 of a cent.
So it's keeping it fair?
Very fair.
Yeah, I
And
think,
con-
I think
and
you'd be
consistent,
consistent.
equitable.
Yeah.
And then what would the next increase be?
Next increase went,
9 plus 9 plus 9, not 27.
the next increase went.
Well, I thought you said,
Surcharge.
right, no, but you said that you wanted to go up 9% over 3 years.
No, just 9% now, and then we're gonna reevaluate it once retained earnings are certified. And if we have to go up more down the road, we can.
Yeah.
But this is a way to bridge the gap.
Right, let me clarify. Jen, I believe I had said that the recommendation was 28% by the Pioneer Group. So I divided that into 3 years. 3 into 28 goes 9 times, point something. So I says, look, why don't we just go up 9% this year, see how it goes. If we need to raise it again, then we raise it again. His recommendation was we should go up the full 28%. And again, I think it's excessive not having a crystal clear picture of our retained earnings, because based on his calculations, and rightfully so, the 28% would be justified if, in fact, our retained earnings were going to come in at $122,000 this October from DOR. But I can't see that happening, especially with what we already have a good idea what the balance is with our town treasurer.
So for the step rate, you want to go to .0872, and he's recommending that we go up to .11.
Correct.
So why don't we look at doing a plan like over 3 years and do 2% the first year, 1% the second, and then 2 from there? Like increase it by 2 cents, not a percentage.
May I ask? Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Jen, if we were completing a contract with an individual or with all our customers, that it was gonna be for the next 5 years, and that we could not change the rate once this contract was agreed to, I would agree to what you're saying, is we should have some escalators in there. But because we're not doing a contract, and also is we wanna be as fair as possible to our community of users, that we just don't wanna charge money and let it stack up in our account. We're able to change our rates at any time, so we can go up at any time. So what we've gotta do is, I think we need a clear analysis of exactly where we are, and we're not gonna have that until we get the funds certified by DOR, which is gonna be this late September, early October. So in the meantime, we're here, and I think it's very equitable for us to go up this modest 9%.
Any other
I'm
discussion?
on board with that, no?
I think to start. It's a move in the right direction. So we got a motion. So the motion is to increase by 9%. You can take all the other stuff out of it and just,
No,
It's a short motion,
it's a motion, I promise, yeah.
so
With the exception of me,
step rate and surcharge, all 9% increase.
correct. And the fee would stay the same.
Okay, and you want it to come on this next bill,
Yes,
that rate?
yes.
Because you're gonna do readings,
Readings,
so it'd be the October bill.
Yeah, would read, I think, the first week in
And that was the whole
October.
reason why we're doing it now, because we get the next.
I think we need to go higher. If we're gonna make just a little bump, and I know 9% is modest, I mean, in like 2 months, we're gonna have to bump it up again. So why don't we just make it a little bit higher?
We don't know that we're gonna have to bump up again in 2 months.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to, because we're not gonna be close to his recommendation.
Because I don't think his recommendation is close.
I would actually say, Mr. Chairman, excuse me, his recommendation is correct based on the numbers that he issued to us. I'm saying his numbers are faulty because he missed one whole quarter of income. And that's the issue that I'm having.
So if we go back to that 933,000, which is roughly, let's say, plus or minus where we think we're gonna be at, then the extra 90,000 or something puts us back around that $1 million, which puts us within about, 10% of where we were over the last 3 to 4 years. Do you follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So this 9% gets us real close. Next year, if we gotta bridge the gap even a little bit more, we can go after it, or we can do it at any time. That's all I think Mr. Lemansky's saying.
That's what's, we have that ability.
So,
And we don't have to give them any notice? It's just,
According to what we had asked Steve, did we need to do a public hearing and do a notification, in the newspaper? He clarified that with DOR and whoever else they had to clarify it with, and the answer was no.
I thought we had to do, a public, I thought we did have to do like a public forum.
It's
Nope.
on your agenda tonight.
Yeah, it's on the agenda as being an issue item, and I was surprised, because I thought we needed to do it, and Steve corrected me, I think it was a couple of meetings ago. He says, no, we do not have to.
because this would be the first quarter, right? Oh, no, so we're gonna start billing on the second quarter. Because,
No, the first quarter bill just went out, the one that was, you're right,
I'm-
right, yeah. But it doesn't matter what quarter,
no, I'm just,
we need to go up.
I'm just thinking that the numbers would work a little bit with, when you start doing the retained earnings again next year. If your percentage went up and you only got 3 quarters again, you gotta go back to this.
As long as you know that, you can factor
Correct,
that in.
but you know
It's
what I'm
just
saying.
about
Yeah.
making sure you make your adjustments and it's
Okay.
known.
So we got a motion and a second for a 9% increase. Discussion, I think we've had enough. Can I get a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimous. Starting Q2, I believe it is,
Next bill.
next billing cycle.
Yep, we do meters, I think, the first week in October. Read meters.
Okay.
So also on that back page, you have something about the warrant. Do you have something another thing you wanted to put on?
STM warrant.
This is- Drain layers
Oh, the
license.
drain layers license, that thing's messed up.
Do
The
you have
drain layers
language?
license, the language, because what it does is it says,
All the 3 town
what it
recommendations.
says, well, correct, and you either
3
take the
letters of-
test, or if in fact you were licensed in 3 other towns, that you have some type of written proof that you're licensed in those 3 other towns. And then it says 3 recommendations. So that's 6 items. So it almost seems as if, and Robin, I don't have to tell you how a lot of these regulations are put together with cut and paste. It almost seems like that little phrase should have got taken out, or should have been somewhere else, and it floated in there, because it just seems, first of all, it seems A, redundant, and B, excessive, to go and say to someone, all right, if you want to work in our town, you need to at least prove to us, without taking the test, that you're licensed in 3 other towns. And then after you give us that, then go out and get 3 recommendations, because we need to read those recommendations as
Would you
well.
rather there be an
Well,
or in there?
It would actually be almost like a job interview thing, where you get,
Here's
here's the
the-
last 3 places you've
Yeah.
worked, and get 3 references,
Here's the
so-
problem, and I've lived it, is, I've gone to towns and said I need a letter of good standing. I've been told point blank, it's not in my job description, go to another town. I don't have time, we're under budgeted.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Gabe, we love you to death, you do good work, but I'm not writing you a letter. I couldn't believe it, I was like, but they're right, I mean,
One of the simple things could be that you ask them, whoever it goes to develop a form that somebody can take and just have it signed off, if that's it. I don't know, I don't know anything about the statutes.
I know, when I read it, and I think the rest of the board should take a hard look at it, but we need a place card for that, we should remove, I'm saying that should be removed. And if the board votes, no, it should still stay there, then what we'll do is,
So you want a placeholder for it? Do you,
yeah, it would be the town bylaw.
okay, zoning, is it zoning or
No,
general?
No, it's,
sewer bylaw.
sewer bylaw.
Oh, it's your, oh,
It's our
okay.
sewer
Thank you.
bylaw. That's
Okay, I
why,
thought it was the main
Yeah, no.
zoning.
it just seems excessive for someone who is, you know, doing a repair
Okay,
or an installation.
The only other thing you could add, see, this is the hiccup that comes into play, like I said, is it expires every year. So what happens is, we never put in a time frame in there. So let's say I skipped a year, because we didn't do a lot of work in the town of Charlton, we did some work somewhere else. I've been licensed for 10 years prior to, I didn't renew it this year because we didn't do any work in that town, and then you gotta go back through the whole rigmarole, even though you maybe did 100 jobs in the town over the 10 years before. So you really haven't lost any credibility or anything, it's just,
Right, but you can't get you won't get the license from our department unless you provide 3 other, proof of being licensed
So-
in those towns. And then it also says you need 3 recommendations. And you gotta pay $100.
sounds like an incentive to keep your license.
well, like, perfect example,
Up to
like
date.
Auburn, I renew it every year because it's gotta go in front of the selectmen. So what happens is, it's a random formality that they have, you know, they've told me they hate it, but it takes 3 to 4 weeks to get your license, just because it's gonna go back in front of the board. So I just renew it every year, because
Yeah,
you
it
get a
could-
job, and your emergency job, you gotta go do it. So, but, cost me $7,000 a year worth of licenses between all these towns. So, start adding it up.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so if I could get the language that you want.
Yeah,
and
We will,
Yeah.
we
I'll
will,
work with you
okay.
on that.
Norm, do you have the copy right there?
Thank you. Is this the amendment, or this is just what
No,
it's?
this
The
is-
existing,
Well, we're not amending it, we're gonna discuss it still, right?
correct.
You're just wanting a placeholder so that you can do the amendment, and
Right.
I think I've sent everybody the calendar, so Steve and Norma should have the town meeting calendar, so you'll see where, I have to have the final language before we go to print for the actual warrant. And I'll usually send something out to let people know that. Okay. Is there anything else? That's that one. Where are you guys with the superintendent?
Real quick too,
Where we what?
that's next. I think we should change, after the gentleman coming up here, that meters. We should really entertain this about putting a meter after a filter of some sort, because this is gonna keep costing us.
Should be after a filter anyway, so.
A sediment filter?
Well, or any filter. Some filters have that reverse osmosis, and they use 75 gallons every time it goes in reverse, and it might go in reverse every 3 or 4 days or once a week. It's a lot of water to throw away that you're paying a sewer rate on.
Yeah.
And usually, and you can't put it in your sewer, it usually goes to some dry well around your house.
Can we add, like, if you put a placeholder in for the sewer bylaws, can we add another one to it, or?
Well, you'd say drain layers, what would be the other one?
Good question.
What would it, just give me a title that you,
I'm just,
just so I can tell the selectmen what it's about.
meter placement?
Just meter use and installation may cover it.
might be on there, it might not, but it's,
Yep, that's fine,
thank you.
okay.
Okay, let's get to this,
One second.
go ahead.
This document, this is when it went in 2009. So, maybe I'm not seeing it here. Where does it talk about 3 letters of recommendation?
The bottom of the second page.
About halfway through.
It's the bottom of the second page. Okay, so I missed it here. Okay, so this is when it talks about the bond. So it says the applicant shall submit certificates of insurance to cover general liability, including $100,000, $300,000 bodily injury, and $50,000 for property damage, period. A bond, comma, cash deposit, should be a comma after deposit, or certified check for $5,000, and 3 letters of recommendation. Structurally, the sentence is wrong. Just by the number of ands that are in there, not the, and by all means, I'm no expert here as far as language goes. But are you reading that now, Robin?
Mm-hmm.
Does that sentence make sense to you structurally? A bond, comma, cash deposit or certified check, should be a comma there.
A bond, cash deposit, or certified check for 5,000, and 3 letters of recommendation must also be submitted. That works. That sentence
Where's the
works.
comma? Shouldn't be a comma there after
It says a
5,000?
bond, cash deposit, or certified check. Generally, you'd have a comma there, because there's 3 things in a row.
Okay. Or do you think that after the 5,000, that and could also be or?
No, it's and then it goes to something else.
If you're giving a.
So you're given a
If you're
bond
giving a
and
bond
3
for
letters.
$5,000, why do you need 3 letters of recommendation?
I don't see why that would be an issue, though.
Because you
Well,
can't
I
get
don't
them
know where it came
sometimes.
Yeah, and
That's what I was saying.
I mean, it doesn't mean it has to be a recommendation from a town. It just says you have 3 recommendations. Somebody's checking your reference. I mean, if somebody comes into town.
Oh, would
you've
Jimmy
never
give you a
met-
recommendation?
It doesn't
No,
say
he
who
loves
the
me. We're good.
recommendation's
No,
from.
but I mean, the references shouldn't be that, the recommendations, I don't think should be that hard.
Oh, they are.
yeah.
See-
Bob, let's get back to the punctuation there.
It's
You're-
not
You're
hard.
saying
Well,
there
that
should,
sign, that punctuation looks right. A bond, cash deposit, or certified check for $5,000 and 3 letters of
so there's no
recommendation
there's
must
no
be.
comma after the $5,000?
No, that's a short sentence. That's not even a long sentence. It says, those are the 2 things you need. The 5,000 and the 3 letters must also be submitted.
So it's a compound noun made up of compound items.
Either way, the 3 letters, I'm recommending it, so we take that out there. But let's, we can put that off to the next meeting, because, was that on the agenda for this meeting?
The license for,
Not really.
not this one.
Yeah, no, it is. It's under
Yeah.
new business.
Old business?
Yep, it's
Yeah,
under
yeah,
new business.
new business, drain license.
That's fine. Why don't we all review it? If anybody's got any changes, and then next meeting we'll just move it forward.
Yeah, just let me know what you want it deleted.
Sound good? Because I want to get to some
Yep.
of this other stuff and not
Yep.
be here for midnight. All right. Superintendent. So, Rob, Paul, you picked up packets. I went, talked to, I'm trying to remember the names, Jessica. Picked up a packets. I understand the way she grades it. I personally think there's only 7 people. I think we should just interview them all, because the way she graded it, there could be people in there that her grading skew might not have taken into account. So where there's not 35 or 40 people, I think 7 isn't that big of a number to just go through for all of us to interview.
Whatever you want to do. I do want to say this, is the, Jessica handed out the explanation of screening groups, which was this. Then also we had, what we had said was the criteria and what we were looking for, which were these four pages. There are some things in here, which obviously can't be on here just because of it. So I think it's important that when you're considering an application, you consider all of what we've had here. So,
I also think too, Jessica will gladly do it with us. I believe we should probably have a meeting, off camera to protect, the possible
The applicants.
rights of the applicants. But we could do it in a public setting down at the sewer plant. Maybe do it over 2 nights, do 3 one night, 4 the next, if we think 7's too much for one night. And get this, ball rolling and really, cause the other thing too is, there's some pretty strong candidates in there. I think they need to know what they're up against as far as what we expect from them, just as much as, they need to know what, we're expecting. There needs to be a mutual expectation. Somebody might think they're coming in to run a water department, and there's nothing, no, we need you to build one. And, they might walk away. So, we gotta get this ball, we gotta get everybody clarified here sooner than later. I would love to see something as soon as this week or next week. We could even do next week, cause it's an off meeting. I don't think we could get through 7 people in one night, maybe? What do you think's an average interview? Half hour?
Half hour probably, yeah.
You could do
Not
a
if the-
half hour each. You could do it here, not on camera, but you could do it here, and then people would wait out there and keep rolling. So if you just had 3 hours, you could get through it, 3-4 hours.
You could start with a phone interview first too, and put them on speaker.
I would suggest you just do
Just
it,
do 'em my way.
just get them all in here for a half hour. If you get through in a half hour and you've got 1 or 2 that you're like a toss-up, you could always have them come back for a second interview too. And then maybe that second interview would be public. Or should I say on camera?
You think Monday would be reasonable
I think so.
to give somebody a heads up to
Oh, yeah.
make, schedule?
Yep.
When I applied for a job, they wanted me to interview within 2 days, so I
Yeah,
think it's.
I think
Okay, no, I'm just asking, I haven't interviewed for a job in about 20 years, so. Couldn't tell you.
you could start at 6, you could try and get people here at 5.
do you think that, I put people in 3 brackets, top, middle, and bottom.
Mhm.
If there was a consensus about at least 2 of the people, 2 of the applicants in the bottom, then why do the application? I mean, why do the process?
Because it's all or nothing, like, the way they grade. Once we, the way Jessica, her grading skew is if anybody fell below that criteria, you either have to do them all to create uniformity, or you have to stick to that criteria.
If they're in, she said if they're in a group, then you have to interview all of the group. If you go down to the next group, then you have to interview all of that group.
And what's the description of a group?
That's her
You guys
guidelines,
have
that
that.
page she gave us.
Yep, that's supposed to be a condensed form of our 4 pages, isn't it?
No, she had another, you had it just right there. So, her job description, she kind of bulleted for us.
Yep. Okay.
So this is kind of how she grouped it.
Okay. Yeah, but this isn't a requirement of anybody.
This is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So, so that group excluded somebody. So you either now just go back to universally, we just interview all the applicants,
Right.
or you have to reestablish this whole grouping, which I don't know if she can or whatever. I just think it's easier to just interview all 7.
It's been time now, it might not even be 7 that are still interested, so,
Yeah.
Okay.
you know, that makes it even less time consuming and all
Okay.
that. I'll go along with that.
So we need to contact Jessica to find out if she would be available.
For next Monday?
I will contact her tomorrow, because I've been kinda in and out of touch with her. I will tell her, you know, what we're kinda thinking. She was pretty flexible, I think, the last time we spoke.
As long as she had, you know, prior notice a few days
I mean, does
ahead.
Monday seem pretty good for everybody?
I don't have my
Yeah,
agenda.
now, it's gonna be another 78-degree day, but anyways, do what we gotta do, let's get it done. And what's the perfect time? Is it before 6? After 6? 7?
I don't think you wanna start later than 6 o'clock,
That puts us to
7,
9.
8, 9, 30.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'll coordinate with Steve and Norma about, maybe we'll give all the applicants a time window.
And you
So
know,
that way, you know, there
Well,
ain't,
Jessica will do that for you.
okay, well, same difference, but
Yeah.
we'll work together, so that way there's, you know, the first person isn't sitting here for 3 hours waiting.
no, and aren't we gonna go from 7 down to 2 or 3?
Correct.
So then we're gonna have another session. So, again, 15 to 20 minutes each, the first round. You know, someone's a keeper, someone's, no, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah, or either or, it's gonna work out to be around a half hour. We'll do the interview, Jessica, this will give me a little bit of time, we'll build up some questions. If anybody has anything, and then it's just kind of a get to know each other and tell them what we're thinking. I will talk with Jessica about maybe formulating maybe the vision of, you know, what this job is. So that way it'll give these, you know, these applicants a head up, maybe we can give them that prior to, so they understand what they're up against. Does that make sense?
What do you mean? I'm going, yes, and I'm going, what do you mean, what they're up against?
This is more about building a water department and managing it than it is daily operations of running it.
Well, eventually, we certainly hope it will be.
Correct. But I think, you know, somebody might have the intentions that, oh, it's already up and running, they just need a grade 2 operator to come in and work it.
Correct, yeah.
So, I just wanna be clear with people, cause there's some pretty good candidates and I, you know,
Okay.
Will we get copies of the grading system and their applications beforehand?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
I don't think she can email that though.
No, she won't email it, but you'll have packets made for that night, so you'll have all their resume and the rating system.
Could we be able to pick that up earlier to review?
I think that would be okay.
Yeah.
Just remember they're confidential, so you want to either shred it or bring it back here to us when you're done. Some people may not have talked to their,
Correct.
but we will let them know that this would be an open meeting, it won't be on TV, but it would still be an open meeting. So,
And Norma, you have to post that, right?
yep, should we post it as job interviews?
I believe that's the most easiest, open, universal way to do this. I don't want, you know, a two-person subcommittee, anything like that. I think it's, if we just do it open, everything's in the public, everybody gets, you know, everything out front. You know, stay. I'll call you tomorrow.
When you talk to Jessica, she'll be able to maybe advise you on the timing. What time does is the earliest that this group can get together on a Monday?
I get out at 5, but I could ask to adjust my hours as long as it wasn't like 2 in the afternoon. But
Yeah, I mean, I think at worst case scenario, the 6:30, if we got here at 6, gives us a half hour to talk with Jessica and review the whole process and how it's gonna work. You know, so we hope for 6, and we'll have the applicants come in at 6:30, just like our normal meeting time.
I mean,
Well,
I
if you can start earlier, because it's gonna be so long, you might wanna try and see if people can come in at 5. Maybe Alex might, sometimes he's flexible also, he says, if he knows ahead of time. So since you're doing this a week ahead of time.
because I could be here by 5.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
Anybody else be there on time?
Paul?
Anytime.
Rob?
Yeah, whatever you need me.
Okay. I will put it in my schedule. Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
We still have matrix status under old business.
Yep.
I also have one too, which I think it's part of the matrix.
Go ahead.
The one that you have here, water system master plan status. The state contacted me and asked for an update. Have you met with Beta? Are you doing anything with them at this point?
We made a motion to go ahead and approve all the other articles and start doing it. With Steve not here, I don't know if they've caught wind of it or not.
And Beta just sent us a report, was it today?
Yeah.
Did they say,
About
can I
finding
get that,
some-
a copy of that report?
It was just a quick paragraph.
Yeah.
They think, they figured out, they think there's a couple valves closed on their water model. So it's more of a technical thing than a full report.
Do you know what number that was, Robin, on the matrix?
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
I just see
Yeah,
it's
this
on the
was sent
first page
September
under.
8th, and it said that they will meet with the Water and Sewer Commission in an upcoming meeting to discuss how the commission would like to proceed. So evidently, this seems as if we've got,
Are they gonna be scheduled for your next meeting then?
yeah, should this immediately just go to Steve Gregoire over in Southbridge? They're the operators of that system. Is this a Southbridge issue?
You know, we probably could have discussed it with Chris tonight.
I'd like to make a motion is that we have our chairman talk with both Chris McClure and Heather Blakely over in Southbridge about this issue.
Second.
I don't think, if you want a motion, we can, but I'll talk with them.
I know you will, I just want, yeah. Get a motion in a second.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
so get that on.
So it sounds like they got it figured out, they just
Well,
somewhat.
and do we know what happened? Norma, was there any work done on that PRV on Route 20 in front of City Power? Because you haven't heard anything about that? Because when they did that midnight test, or the evening test, that was an issue. Okay.
Do we have any more updates? Any changes?
To the matrix, not that I know of, that
So,
Beta is supposed to be going forward with the
The original agreement.
The only thing that's left out there is the rate study for water.
Because they need to be, because that was kinda, they were supposed to go hand in hand with Pioneer with the water study.
So you've not had any contact with Pioneer either?
Not that I know of, unless Steve
You don't want
has.
me to talk to him.
I do, actually.
Yeah.
You would have told him the information he needed
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you looked at it. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate you guys didn't look at the draft proposal and say, oh, did you know? Because it might have made a big difference. So as he starts to do the water, when I hope that you will, meet with him a couple of times and make sure he has all the information that he might need in that study.
I'll talk with Steve, and I'll give him a call. And if Steve hasn't heard from Beta, I'll call him and talk to Bob and find out
And
where
you
we're
let
at.
me know the
Yes.
status, because I have to give a status to the
Because
grant people.
this was, what, a month ago? Maybe even longer? Yeah, all of 6 weeks, we kinda gave him the go-ahead to start, yeah, Beta,
Yeah.
executing their contract. So,
Okay. Those are the only ones I'm trying to pay attention to, I think.
okay.
Thank you.
Janet, this is your stuff, all that stuff.
That, I believe, is your.
This is my file. That's kind of like all over the place. Sorry. Okay.
Do you see anything with the matrix, Jen? I don't have a copy in front of me, so.
There's a bunch of updates that I'll see if I can get with Paul on to put them in and, cause like the sewer rate study we talked about today, the land purchase and sale status can be updated, billing issues we could make more notes on. So, yeah, there's some things we can update and
Okay,
keep it moving.
thank you. I think you're good.
Good note to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman?
We do need to go into executive session.
Is it on the, is it on the agenda?
For,
I guess not.
Not on the agenda, I don't see it there.
for
Okay,
what?
don't go yet then, please, Robin. I gotta talk to you.
What?
I just don't leave. I have a question to ask you then.
So it's not on the agenda, is it? No. Motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Okay, so tentatively, Monday, we're gonna try and do water superintendent interviews. We're gonna post it,
Yep.
Norma, and obviously, we'll see how it all goes, so.
And then for the next meeting, we're going to have our edits on drain layers license, our comments on the SOP for the
Suggested,
brewery,
yeah.
and wording for rate study. So that'll be kind of like our homework,
Wording for rate study.
or pricing, like just so that we have the blurb how it's written out. Don't we have to have something to put on the checks, or, I mean, the bills and, no, it just.
No, I
number
think
goes
it's
up? Okay.
the 9%, right? The 9% just goes and they put it into Vadar and it does its
Okay.
thing. Okay. I mean, we can definitely talk, I mean, if you guys feel, if you wanna add something into there, to put a little excerpt in with all the bills, I mean, that's fine. To, you know,
I
give
would,
the customers a heads up.
I would think we would want to,
I think it's common courtesy. So,
so maybe we could come up with somewhere for that.
If you don't alert them, you're gonna have phone calls ringing off the phone. They're gonna be on, yes, somebody gets that bill.
Think of you.
What's this?
so, okay.
Down by where they have like what quarter it is, you know, like a little blurb or.
I'm even thinking just a little, you know, you guys put your little attachments in there, in big bold print. To say, hey, the commission voted to do a rate increase of 9% on X day to come effective next quarter. The only problem is they're gonna get it once it goes into effect.
We could put it on
You're
the,
actually making it retroactive.
the town of Charlton's webpage.
You're actually making that a retroactive raise.
If you write it and then give it, you can put it on the webpage, you can put it on people, so you can run it, you can just run the note, start running the notice now.
But it's retroactive. The bill comes out in October, but you're billing us for the last 3 months. So you're really billing us from the end of last billing period.
That's true.
Yep.
Good
So-
point.
So it might have to be as January 1st,
You're billing
Which-
us retroactively.
No,
which would be the end of the second quarter.
why can't we change it?
Change what?
Why do we have to? Are they not gonna use the sewer? If we change.
No, but we don't want partial billings.
We're not gonna have partial bills.
As you voted it, you will.
Steve had checked into that.
You know, just voted to change the rate as of the billing date.
Well, if you
I don't,
change it as of the billing date, then it doesn't reflect in that bill. Because we get billed after the fact. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We get billed for the last 3 months on October something. So if you tell them it's effective that day, then it's going forward, you can't add it to the bill. It's either retroactive or it starts on the day of the new bill.
I don't feel right about starting it without,
I mean, I think it's just as easy to say January 1st, because then it gives them a heads up. You
No,
put-
because then you're gonna have to, if it starts January 1st, you got the bill from, the use from December 31st. It says, it starts January 1st, are you gonna go out and do a meter read?
No,
So the thing is, what we need to do is go back and change your motion to add the word retroactive from the last billing, and we're done and over with it. Don't make it more than what it is,
But don't make it less than what it is either.
or less, right.
What I'm saying is, okay, so the billing right now is from July 1st, right, to October, correct?
October first, yeah.
It's kinda fuzzy when the meters get read. So it's the next billing quarter is when we're raising the rate.
Correct, so that
Which is
would
what we
be,
said.
that would be October into January.
That's
No,
right.
it's already
Right.
happened.
October, we
We're already in it.
the
But if you make it effective in October, you can't charge me for July
Correct.
and August and September,
Because why?
because you made it effective
We-
October 1st.
We made it for,
It's gotta be
I believe the
effective,
way the motion read it
it's gotta be effective last
was
July.
effective for the next billing cycle. So the billing cycle, which is coming up in late September, early October. And that's when the rate, that's when.
No, but that
the rate
billing
was.
cycle,
Yeah,
what
it's
the
fine,
gentleman's saying,
fine.
is the billing cycle's the old one.
It's fine.
You gotta make it effective July 1, if you're gonna
Correct.
you're gonna
Right.
charge me in October.
Good. I tell you, we'll let those people come up and we'll talk to them then. I don't think we
I'd
need
like
to.
to make a motion
We're being
to
too
readdress.
specific to where you're not gonna be able to physically do the specific date. For the simple reason that the readings take sometimes 3, 4, 5 days, you gotta wait for Southbridge.
No, it's not about the specific date, it's just this next grouping. So you either have to do, like, you
You
know,
gotta make it
go-
effective July.
you gotta go back to the first quarter, or go back to, or just say as of quarter 2, the rates are now,
I believe, again, if you went back to the tape, my motion was next billing cycle, which based on the last billing cycle ended August 30th. Based on the bills I'd seen on that gentleman that was here.
Can I make a motion to revisit the motion that was made? Because I believe we're thinking two different things, and I think we need to have a little more discussion on it.
yeah, let's have a discussion for
We're
clarity.
in the middle of a motion to adjourn that's been seconded too, so we gotta, so you can take a motion in between a motion.
And add another motion,
Yeah.
or we cannot vote to adjourn.
I make a motion to not vote to adjourn.
Or if, all right, hold on. So the motion adjourns out. Paul? Motion to adjourn? It's already out there, so if we adjourn, we're going home. If not, you know, we're
There's a
gonna,
motion to adjourn, and I seconded it, I thought.
Correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
nay.
Got a tie vote, it doesn't carry. Okay, so we're open, go ahead, now what?
All right.
So I make a motion to revisit the motion on the rate increase that we discussed, and when it would exactly be in effect and start.
Do you have
Do you have a second?
second? Second.
Okay. Well, you gotta have a vote.
If you wanna be a stickler, we can go down this road or we can get the hell out of here.
We're
Let's
gonna
go.
get the heck out of here. You got a vote?
Normal.
We're doing the readings, because you have, it's January, February, March, first quarter. April, May, June, July, August, September. But when you're doing July, August, September, those we're reading like the first, second week in October.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be perfect. We're right on the beginning of the first year.
No, because
Beginning of the year.
you still got July is retroactive.
If you say that's effective in October, you're charging
Did-
me for July?
Did the meter, I mean, the original motion, the effective date,
Keep your comments to yourself. You know, we don't have we don't need sarcasm.
This is out of
Did-
control.
Yeah, but we don't need that.
Should have adjourned.
No, we're gonna get this. This needs to be clear so we can move on.
For the next
So quarter two,
cycle, in
the rate will
October.
increase quarter two, so the people will get their bills in January with the increased rate.
that's exactly right.
Okay,
Quarter three,
that's quarter two.
July, August, September.
No, that's quarter one.
Yeah.
We're
From
going with the
From the,
fiscal year of
Fiscal
July,
year.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
It doesn't matter what fiscal quarter it is we took a vote to raise the rates for the next billing cycle. That's what we did.
Correct.
So period, that's it. What's the matter?
But you're assuming that this next billing cycle, the next billing cycle is the last billing cycle.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
The next billing cycle is when the meters are read and you go and actually do the equation.
Hold on.
To determine what the bill
Is
size.
your first quarter July, August, September? As far as your billing cycle?
no, that's the third quarter,
that's
actually.
the third quarter of this year, but.
Okay, so fourth quarter, the rates are active. The sewer increase will be active come fourth quarter. Does that make sense?
Do you know what fiscal or
Doesn't matter.
calendar?
Yeah, it all depends if you're going by calendar.
That's what I'm
or
asking.
year.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, what do you guys bill on?
They read the meters and the bill.
What if we
Yeah,
put
we
a
read
note
the meters in October.
on the
It'll
October
be
billing?
for the period of July, August, September.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which we're not doing that.
No, we are doing that.
No.
Because that's the next
No.
meter reading.
No, then, that's where we are today. But we made the motion to increase the rates. So the next meter reading would be when? Not the one in October. Then the,
So-
You mean the one after that?
hold on. The following one would be January?
December, yes,
December, January?
yes. January
Should we put
would be
a
for October, November, December.
pamphlet or paper in the billing saying, when we bill in October, saying as of the next billing, the rates will be increased 9%?
Exactly.
And that's giving the time that I hope solves all the problems here that we're
That,
arguing about.
that's exactly it. So this billing that'll go out will be the normal rate, or the way it is today.
Right.
There'll be a
Okay,
note
yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
When you get your next bill, it will have a 9% increase. So
Yeah.
on January 30th, or whenever they get them, right?
Yes.
Which is thereabouts, beginning of February,
Yeah, February.
will be effective with a 9% increase. Follow me? So it's the next billing quarter, just like you said.
I didn't say that.
that's not.
What's the next billing
Yeah,
cycle?
Listen, I hear where you're
next
coming
billing
from,
cycle is really
that you
October,
wanna
but-
you wanna make sure everyone has, it's crystal clear notice that their rates are going up.
Correct.
And that if they wanna start conserving, then they can start it, as soon as possible, and they will see the effect, not in this bill they're gonna receive in October, November, but they're, in the bill they're gonna receive in March.
Correct. And that way it'll give us an opportunity without making another mailing to already get them the information in the heads
All right,
up.
but we're giving up $22,500.
Well, we've been giving it up for 10 years, or 9 years, so it's, I think in fairness to the public,
So,
one more quarter
first of all,
is.
We don't even have a second on the, we have a second on the motion?
Yes.
All right, so is this a discussion, because we didn't even have a vote?
We had a second, I seconded it.
You second it? Okay.
Remember, you were pretty particular about it,
Yeah,
Robert.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Sure.
I'm very. So the motion will be for,
So this, in October, when we send out the bills, October, November, early November.
Yes.
We'll have a notice in there, a flyer in there saying, when you get your next bill, this is gonna be the increase.
A
Correct.
9% increase, right.
But we can put it online too.
yep,
And since it's four of us, it's a tie vote, it doesn't carry. We live with what we did. Let's go home.
can we get a motion, a second? Do you got the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so motion, a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 You good
Aye,
now?
aye. Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
No, but it's clarification, these, you know,
I'll second that motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks for the clarity.
Thank you. Gosh. Ay, ay, ay.